Hello. We'll be starting in one moment. I must get a drink. How's everybody doing today? Boom! What's up, Lined Office? What's up, Geostellar? Miles to go. Zach the Lit. I hope you're well. Say hi. You wrote up a new feat just for tonight? Sweet, dude. One of the things I was going to talk about when we start is how people don't make feats that much. You notice that? So, like, let me show you. Like, so when I was getting ready for stream tonight, I went to... I think that if you want to get better at writing homebrew, one of the best things you can do is just hang out on the Unearthed Arcana subreddit and just see what people are making. And also just read the feedback that people give each other sometimes too. And I grabbed a bunch of, I wanted to grab a bunch of like feats and species and spells for us to look at while we were like getting ready and folks were rolling in. And people don't make feats that much. There's not a lot of homebrew feats out there in the world compared to everything else. Hey, Lambo. Dude, do what you gotta do. Oh man, I'm so glad you're here. Hello to see you for a brief moment. I hope you're still writing. I hope you're still making plays or stories or something. And if you're not, I bet you're still doing cool stuff. And I want to encourage you to find some time to do some writing if you're not. But if you are, that's cool too. You are? Hell yeah, man. So fun fact. Lambo is somebody who watched my stream a long time ago. Like early viewer. What's up, Beanos? What's up, Hi the Connor? What's up, the digital guy? And we ended up having like some very real conversations about their writing, about them trying to do this thing of going off to being like a writer person. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but did I look at your college essay? I don't remember. I think we talked about it at the least. But anyway, I'm just really glad that you're still pursuing writing. It's fucking awesome. Geostellar says feats are at a level of complexity that is less than a subclass or species, but more than a magic item when it comes to balance. Yes, that is actually a perfect place to put them. Because everything we look at today, which is going to be feats and spells and species, are things that players do not have to pick. but they are an option amongst specifically player options in terms of, like, you as a dungeon master aren't necessarily deciding when they get it. Because you decide when you take a feat, you decide when you get a species, what species you are, and you decide what spells you learn. So you might homebrew throw a spell in as like a plot point, but an important thing to look at or to think about whenever we're making homebrew is like where it fits in the game. And everything that we're looking at today is essentially a player option at the player's discretion. So you got to think about it from that perspective. What's up, Aiden? We talked about it. Anyway, I'm glad you're doing well, buddy. But yeah, like, if we look at the Unearthed Arcana subreddit, and I just do the top of the week, we got a spell, a subclass, a species, a spell, a class, an item, a subclass, a compendium. Like, feats just aren't here. I found one feat, and it's actually two that we can look at, but I just thought it was interesting. Feats fill up a weird space because they're a lot of the time something you would make a feat, you could make a part of a species or you could make a magic item, you know? I think that's part of why they're like a little tricky. Yeah, but you can generally know when a player gets a feat or a spell. You know, the spell is based on the level of the spell. They could take it at higher levels too, but that's when they get access to it. And then a feat is like level 1 if they're a variant human, level 4 if they're anybody else. Or if you're doing D&D 2024 rules, it could be an origin feat, you know, and maybe then it's totally, then it's a level 1 feature. Then it really is just like a species. How do you guys feel about that? How do you guys feel about in D&D 2024 species getting less powers, but there being this addition of origin feats? Because I was looking at the 2024 here. I was looking at the 2024 species, and they're like a little. They don't have a lot in them. They got like 2 or 3 things. They're kind of mellow, which is an interesting thing to think about from like a design perspective. Just because normally I feel like power creep makes everything grow, but it is making it grow this way by just building a new feature and then cutting another one down a bit. Origin feats seem cool. I'm building my first 2024 character, and origin feats seem like they play a really big part in that initial vibe. Give me 2 seconds. 2 seconds, chat. I'm still here, but just give me 2 seconds. I'm still here. I'm almost still here. All right, I'm back. I wouldn't abandon you. I would have preferred more power in the species, maybe unlocking as you level up. That is something that I think people want to put in their brew a lot, and if we look at some species today, I'm sure we'll see a little bit of it. It totally makes sense, doesn't it? Like, I 100% understand not wanting to have to like balance around something totally different than like that, but there are a couple species that sort of level up. There's the Simic Hybrid. Here, let me show. I mean, the Simic Hybrid is probably the best example of that. Because you also have spellcasting, and any species that gets inherent spellcasting has a bit of leveling up, because they usually get like a cantrip, and then a level 1 spell, and then a level 2 spell. The Simic Hybrid is a Simic Hybrid. And this is how it works. You get your con modifier up, and then at first level, you get one of these 3 features. And then at 5th level, you get one of these 3 features. So you pick between one of these 3 things, and then this is, and I love the Simic Hybrid, by the way. I've only really seen it in play once or twice, but it is very good for accomplishing a lot of weird character ideas, because you can it's kind of a Build-A-Bear Monster Man character. You know, you can glide, you could climb, you could be underwater dude, you could have grabby bits, you could have hard skin, you can shoot acid. Like, those in different combinations, you can build so many different things. I would send one of my blood magic spells, but I'm guessing you wouldn't be a fan based on the past experience. I think it depends on what it does, right? Do you cast it if you does it require a different spell casting system that I need to talk about, or is it just you lose hit points when you cast it too? I don't really know. I don't love hit point based casting in D&D. I don't think it works super well. So that's probably what you're making reference to. But you can share it if you want. I'm happy to take a look at it. I think the option of ignoring ignoring components and spending hit points is fine. I think the issue comes from when you cast spells based on hit points. And I actually don't even think that issue is that big of a deal in all circumstances. I think that for me, where the issue comes from is Constitution casters. And the amount of times that Constitution casting and like hit point based casting is conflated is often. Because most of the time, the way people try to balance a Constitution based caster is by incorporating some element of hit point taking away, you know? But if it's just a cool way that it can get around material components, I think that's neat. This is the top-rated homebrew on Unearthed Arcana for the week. If you don't know what Unearthed Arcana is, by the way, you guys got to check it out. It's better than D&D Beyond homebrew. It's very community, and the fun thing is a lot of people in our community are in it. Like, for example, the Cubist Artificer was created by none other than our very Baba, aka Philip. And it's up here. Looks great. And in the comments, we got Spaghetti. We got Galdanos. Like, it's just us. Lambo's there? Anyway, I love that. That makes me smile. So if you don't use this regularly to get feedback and to share your homebrew, I think you should play around with that. Or at the very least, check it out to like just see what homebrew people are making. If you don't use Reddit much, I totally get it. Reddit can be a cesspool. In my experience, it is very different subreddit to subreddit. And other people can tell me if they disagree, but I think the Unearthed Arcana subreddit is pretty solid. The only thing that I don't love about the Unearthed Arcana subreddit is that they are cool with AI art. I don't love that, but I'm not gonna, hate them for it. I understand the logic of trying to make that sort of space from like a from a capitalistic perspective and not trying to just turn every mod's job into arguing with everyone all the time. But what you gonna do? Can't win every battle. Where'd the music go? No, we need more chill music, friend does. I want the chill music. So true, bestie. Who are you? And why are you talking like Zach Speaks Giant? That's the real question. Boo-doo-doo. Uh-oh, my light turned off. He's just being overly casual? You say so. You say so. What about stat-based casting? I sacrifice my speed to 0 to cast dash. That doesn't make sense. What? Okay, I think you're just being silly. Or you're just speaking nonsense. What? How would
Charge complete.
You got a jump scare for that. I think that that doesn't make any sense in like 100 different directions. If your speed is 0, dashing doesn't do anything. Also, dashing isn't a spell. But I love you. And I hope you have a very special day. He's a great guy. His long form stuff is great. He runs the thing that he's like the most proud of is he does a show called D&D But Real, where he has guests on and they do a D&D one shot, but instead of rolling dice, they have to like accomplish tasks to see how well they do on their rolls. So it's very silly and gamey, and he has a new one coming out, I think, this week. Yeah, it's fun. It's really fun. And he's gotten some like decently big creators to appear on it. This is the #1 piece of homebrew on the Unearthed Arcana subreddit this week. It's a spell, a 9th level spell called Cruel Sun. Remember when we were talking about like the K-pop Demon Hunter homebrew? And the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Fried? Mr. Fried. Mr. Fried! Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde homebrew, and how part of what made them do so well is that they're just like really popular ideas. So this is based off of a thing from 7 Deadly Sins, which is a very popular anime. And it's a 9th level spell, which makes sense if you're basing it off of anime, because in my experience, anime homebrew is busted! It's so busted. Because anime is always very OP. So people have a hard time not making their anime homebrew OP. I wanted to see what it does. I haven't looked at it at all yet, but I want to give it a gander. Let's see. A lot of different people can cast it. You conjure a blazing miniature sun above your open hand that radiates unbearable heat and sunlight in a 60-foot emanation until the end of your next turn. It's bright light, it dispels magical darkness, and it sheds dim light an additional 60 feet. All right, so you make a big sun. It only lasts a round. When it appears, each creature in the area has to make a con saving throw or take 12d6 damage. And any non-magical object starts to burn. And all metal is basically under the effects of heat metal. Okay. I'm a little bit concerned with the heat metal thing, because heat metal doesn't do that much in a round if you can't... I guess it could make it so creatures have disadvantage on their attack rolls or have to try to drop something. It could do that. But you kind of lose out on the fire element, because you need to use a bonus action to deal damage with it. Yeah, the duration is confusing. I agree. I think the duration is confusing. Yeah, I would probably drop the heat metal use here, because it's so... Heat metal doesn't make sense for us. It just doesn't fit. What I might do is any creature that is holding any metal objects or wearing metal has to make some sort of saving throw or drop it. And if they can't drop it, they have disadvantage on something. You could do that. I think that would work really well. But heat metal's... It's like a little bit too complicated of a spell for, I think, what we are trying to accomplish in a single round. Solar Lance. While the sun hovers above your hand, you can take a bonus action to launch it in a 10-foot wide. It only lasts a round. Okay, so I guess this is like if you want to use your action and your bonus action, you can do an extra thing with it. But in theory, you could choose not to if you want to do something else with your bonus action. Is that what's going on here? Or did they just fuck up by making it a round? All right, let's see what it does. You can launch it in a 10-foot wide, 120-foot line. Each creature in the line has to make each creature has to basically make a save, or they take another 12d6 radiant damage. And then until it ends, you could also use a bonus action to make the sun erupt in a blaze, ending the spell. Each creature in the area has to make a saving throw, or they take 24d6 damage. Yeah, I think they messed up the way they worded the rounds, because the way this is written, it's like, okay, I think here's what's... If it's intentional, I think this is what it's supposed to do. I think it's you summon it, and it does this, and then you pick between either doing Solar Lance or Pride Flare. And it just does all of those in one round, and that's what it does. So it basically is just a shit ton of damage that you decide is either 2 big AoE bursts around you, or 1 big AoE burst and then a line burst. That would make sense. I think. I don't know if I love that from like a design perspective for a 9th level spell. I might, because it's like big AoE, we don't need to immediately make the third option not another big AoE, make it some other type of weird use. But what also might be the case here is it's intended to last for more than a round, and the intention is that it does this sunburst immediately, and then you can like swing it around sort of like Moonbeam. Do you think it's supposed to be like Moonbeam? Is that what they're trying to do here? Where like, you know? I guess maybe it's trying to be Moonbeam, but it doesn't make sense that it's one round. I wonder if anyone commented on that. Let's check. This feels rather weak for a 9th level spell. The goal is to balance around the meteor swarm. This one only does 30 more damage on average. You can summon a sun and explode it immediately, or you can throw it and then explode it on the next round. So they do intend for it to last more than... But buddy, it's not going to last a round, because by the time your turn starts again, it's a new round. Like, you don't ever have 2 turns in one round, by definition. All right, let's see what this guy said. With it being one round duration, the only change I would ask is the Pride Flare rather than... Yeah, you got to make it all work together. Yeah, the 1 round thing is confusing. Does he answer it? Regarding the duration of the timing, I wanted to offer some flexibility, but also an option for the enemies to respond. But you're not clarifying the round thing. You're still not clarifying the round thing, buddy. Huh, yeah. I mean, this kind of feedback here, where people are talking about like how much damage it's doing, that's really helpful. This is why the Unearthed Arcana is a really good site to use, because that sort of feedback is the kind of feedback that is really helpful to get, but also is not good. People don't want to go into the weeds of it that much, but people on Reddit do. You know what I mean? I don't love getting into the weeds of this stuff, but other people do. And they'll do the math, and they'll be like, I did the math, and on average, this does this, this, and this. And you're like, all right, cool. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I'll tell you what. Here's what I like about it. I like the idea of a 9th level spell that is a ongoing AoE effect that you can change the shape of. That's cool. I don't think anything like that exists right now, where it's like, I summon this thing, and it either deals damage in a sphere or a line every round. That's cool. Or, you know, I think that's a fun idea to play with. Like Moonbeam, but it can change shape. But yeah, I think the 1 round is weird, man. I think if you want it to only last essentially a turn, you just build it all together. Or if you want it to last more than a turn, I think you got to make it a little bit weaker, so that it doesn't immediately need to be exploded at the beginning of the next round, but they could have a couple rounds of, like, swinging it around and then explode it whenever they want. And if that was the case, I'd probably lower the damage of Solar Lance. I'd lower the damage probably everything a little bit if I did that. But certainly Solar Lance and probably Solar Burst. I think Pride Flare, I mean, that's still a shit ton of damage. I might make this AoE a little bit smaller, so there's a little bit more strategy you have to use in terms of where you place it. Because a 120-foot emanation is just basically everything on the battle map. So then it doesn't really give you an incentive to swing it around. You know what I mean? I like the idea that you have to swing it around and you just like... It's just like this ion beam that erupts around the battlefield. But that's what I think. Or not ion beam, but like a, you know... It's like it's like a sphere of annihilation, but radiating fire and sun energy. The light is not sunlight. I wonder if that's a D&D 2024 thing. You know? It could totally be a D&D 2024 thing. Unsure. Anyway, interesting. I like the idea and concept, but I think that the round thing could be tweaked. If anybody feels inclined to leave comments if they think an item is cool on Reddit, I strongly encourage you to. I would say if you want to leave comments, just make sure they are either supportive in that you are highlighting what you like, or supportive in that you are asking for clarity or trying to give suggestions in a way that is like, you know, don't be shitty. Because I like looking at these things on Reddit, and I love that that my community is involved in it too. But I don't want people to be mean, you know. Somebody made a Tarrasque-kin as a species. I looked at it in its initial inception, and it was completely OP. So we're gonna look at its initial inception, and then we're gonna see if the person changed it to make it not incredibly jank. Because it was incredibly jank. This is the incredibly jank version. This is all the things it gets, okay? It gets blind sight to 10 feet. That's pretty strong. That's a thing that normally you have to pick like a fighting style to get. That basically means you can avoid a shit ton of things like invisibility, you can see through illusions, lots of stuff. You get a burrow speed of 20 feet. A burrow speed, a lot of people are going to push back here, but I think a burrow speed is stronger than a fly speed. Because it's a fly speed, but you have total cover. So that is another one where it's like that I think is too strong. Then they get natural armor, where your base AC is 17, which is the turtle's main feature. Then they get, on top of that, they get even more defense. And it's like a little bit of a hat on a hat. I don't think we need 2 defensive features. We get strong stomach, which I think is fun, and we get a language. So when I was looking at this, I was like, you got to do something about that burrow speed. And more importantly, you have to sort of figure out what this thing's identity is. Like, the identity right now is like, it's basically just bigger turtle, right? It's like, it just gets a better shell than a turtle, and it can dig. Yeah, the languages are definitely random. They were an afterthought at best. But I didn't leave any feedback. But a lot of people in the comments left really good feedback. Okay? This is one where it's like, this is an interesting, now we're going to go down, this is an interesting, like, diagram of people. A lot of really good feedback. This guy gave basically the same feedback that I just told you guys. And unfortunately, this guy does a lot of defending the choices he made instead of trying to understand them. Like, the main contention that he makes in a lot of these comments, and I'm not going to go through all of them right now, so I apologize if I'm not 100% accurate here, is that he basically thinks that giving them blind sight instead of tremor sense balances the burrow speed, because it means that they will be blind while they are burrowing. I would push back and say, intentionally giving them a feature that is cool in a way that is not cool related to another feature they get is silly as a way to balance something. That's defying the logic of it. Because the only reason they should have blind sight is because they burrow, and they should have tremor sense then. So changing it to blind sight so that it doesn't work while they're burrowing kind of like, then why do they have it at all? What about the existence of a Tarrasque gives it blind sight outside of burrowing? So I didn't feel like it was a super good solution. That being said, they have an updated version, and I'm curious to see if they changed it. This is updated version. Your medium, you still have blind sight, you still have... Oh, they didn't change a goddamn thing. I thought they said it was an updated version. Oh, here's the new version. Okay. Let's see what the new version is. You get a natural AC of 13 plus your con. I think that's fine for a Tarrasque. It's pretty good, because you always want a high con. We still get this sturdy carapace. Man, I don't know. I don't think we need both of these. I think it would be okay to pick one and not two. I feel like by giving two features, we're like missing out on another aspect of the Tarrasque. I get that we have this strong stomach, but why don't we have a bite? Tarrasque's got some chompers. You're getting a new friend into D&D right now? Hell yeah. Yeah, this is a player race. Okay, what else? They changed the burrow speed to this, which is, as a bonus action, you get a burrow speed of 20 feet and blind sight 10 feet. Just make this tremor sense. Why is it blind sight? That seems much more reasonable. How long does it last? Until the end of your turn? I think that seems super reasonable. Strong stomach, advantage on saving throws you make to avoid and end poison. Yep, I think that's fine too. Yeah, this actually feels a lot stronger. So if I was going to mess around with this, if I was going to give any feedback, I would say, I don't think we need Sturdy Carapace. I think Sturdy Carapace is fine, but there's other things that basically do this in the game anyway. And there's stuff that's not here that I feel like is very Tarrasque-y. There's kind of two, and one of them I think is maybe too strong to give as a player feature. And that's that Tarrasques have sort of like an anti-magic thing going on. They can like, they can like reflect spells, and they're very good at that. They got some just inherent anti-magic stuff. But I think that that would be a little too strong, and maybe not enough, not specific enough of a vibe, or not on the nose enough, rather. So, but I would give this guy a chomper. Geo, I hear you. You know what? You're probably right, but it's not magic. It's one spell and then mostly physical damage. I think if they changed it to instances of magical damage, then I think that would make more sense. I think maybe you're right. I think that's what this has sort of. I think you're right. I think you're right now that I'm looking at it this way. Magic resistance is really strong to give a species. They did that with one thing. They did that with the Yuan Ti, and everyone was like in a fucking uproar, and like it became like such a power gamer option because it basically means you have advantage on like half your saving throws. It's one of those features that is totally reasonable to put on a monster, incredibly powerful to put on a player. It could be part of it is a of their bonus action thing. I wouldn't want to build two features around a bonus action. I think one would be. I think that if they were going to do that, then they should do something else with From Whence It Came. But I like the way they did From Whence It Came. I think that's a very solid upgrade. I don't think it should reduce all damage. That's the issue, Corwin. Why does this need two features that do the same thing? We are getting a really strong natural defense. Why do we need another really strong natural defense? Like, at least if we limit it to magical damage, this is going to mostly be from attacks because it's armor class. And then this would, a lot of times spells are saving throws. So it would work in the situation where these didn't work. But if it's just like, you are harder to hit, and when you are hit, you take less damage. We don't need two steps up the same staircase, Reducing all damage by proficiency bonus would be very strong also for a species feature. But it's an interesting idea for a feature. I think there's probably places it could fit in like other scenarios. I don't know if I would put it on at species level. Honestly, it might make be better. It might make like I mean it's kind of what heavy armor master does as the feat. Races that scale with player level always end up either broken at high levels or just terrible at every level. I don't agree with that. I think it depends on how you do it. No, let me rephrase that. It depends on how you make them scale. Like, scaling like this, where you get a number of uses equal to your proficiency bonus, I think is really good. I think is really good. We did say the same thing, Corwin. That's funny. I also think scaling in the way the Simic Hybrid scales, where at first level you get a feature, and then at 5th level you get a feature, that could also work. Because it's not scaling past 5th level. I think whenever you see a species that scales past 5th level, then you are in the world of this person is not necessarily balancing the thing they're making. I see. I see. Guys, I'm going to be honest. I'm a little tired today. I did not sleep a lot last night. So I don't want to play marbles. So, can you guys just post the feats and spells and species that you made in the form on the Discord, and I can just look at them, and we don't do marbles? And it's just first come, first serve? Is that cool with you guys? That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do today. Because I just want to chill. I want to look at your shit. I want to talk, and I want to chill. I don't want to do marbles. I like marbles, but I don't want to have to get as hype as I need to for marbles. I don't think I have it in me. So what I would say is, if you have a magic, not a magic item, if you have a feat or a spell or a species that you want me to look at today, go on over to my Discord and post it in the Discord. Fair warning. Fair warning. I'm going to ask if you're here when I look at it. And if I don't hear from you, I might skip it. Because I want to be able to be in dialogue with the people who I'm looking at. So I might ask for a sound off. I haven't decided yet. But keep that in mind. Anyway, I hope y'all don't mind if we don't play marbles tonight. I hope it doesn't make anybody too upset. What's up, Grimbaz? It's the funny orc guy. Yes, it is the funny orc guy. Funny. It's funny orc guy. What's up, buddy? Corwin, either one is fine. I have both chats open. If you want your chat to appear on the video, if I make a video, or if you want it to appear just on the thing down here, then you have to do that on Twitch, just because that's how Twitch works when you multi-stream. But if you don't care, I can see both. They're both right there. I love orcs. I'm a big orc fan. I'm playing League of Legends for the first time. And my character, I have two characters. I'm playing, not League of Legends, excuse me. I'm playing World of Warcraft for the first time. And I'm playing with Zach Speaks Giant and Adam Lucas of Blackwater and Steph, I forget her last name, and a couple other people. And we are playing World of Warcraft Classic. And we are playing World of Warcraft Classic Hardcore. And that is my first experience with World of Warcraft, is World of Warcraft Classic Hardcore. And I have two characters, neither one died yet. Corwin, if you look at the announcement, in the announcement channel, I linked the place to post it, the thread. It says it's Cinder Review, and then there's a thread with today's date. But yeah, I have two characters. I have a level 9 Orc Warlock. And now I have a level 10 Dwarf Hunter. And I really like being the Dwarf Hunter. It's so fun. I just love... It's so funny shooting stuff with a gun in World of Warcraft. It just makes me laugh. And I don't have a pet yet. I'm on my mission to get my pet right now. And we just did a thing last night where... we had to go through this area where we were all level 9 or 10, and we had to go through an area where all the monsters were level, like, 17. And they were chasing us, and we almost got killed. It was so fun. Oh, it was so cool. Anyway. I'm enjoying it a lot. But also, I think I'm going... I think I'm having an optimal experience where I'm playing with people that are really fun to play with, and we're kind of goofing and gaffing, and then locking in when we need to lock in. It's just good. But yeah, the Hunter is so much more fun than the Warlock so far. Because you can jump and shoot. I just love jumping and shooting. So fun. All right, I think... Oh my god, some of you posted some homebrew already. Yes. Oh, you're champions. If I don't... By the way, if I don't get to look at your piece tonight, don't be sad. We can look at it later. You know, just be reasonable with me. But if I don't get to look at it, I would strongly suggest you post it in the peer review section of my Discord, because other people will give you feedback too. And I skim that usually late at night and or when I'm pooping. And if you want to get feedback in my Discord from other people, and it is very good for feedback a lot of the time, the best thing to do is to post something and then take like 20 minutes and give like 2 or 3 different people feedback. And just try to give them the same, you know, amount of energy and respect that you would want. And then usually that comes back to you. It's very much like, you know, those who help get helped. What's your opinion on non-specific ability score increases? I think it's fine. I mean, I understand the goal of it. Like, the goal of it is so you can have flexibility in the character. Like, if you want to be a Warforged, but you like the idea that they're really frail and very, very, very intelligent and wise, I have no issue with... I don't feel like a Warforged needs to get more of a bonus to Constitution. You know what I mean? I would put it into a Google Doc and post that Google Doc and make sure the Google Doc is shareable or viewable. Little bonus action thing. If you are subscribed to Cinder but not on Discord, join in, because us subs and members are making a fairy tale based big homebrew compendium. That's true. That's something that I don't promote enough. But if you are a subscriber to the channel, there is like, or a member on YouTube, there's like a smaller community within the larger community that is a little bit, I would say, more intimately active, but not in a weird way, just in a everybody's like constantly talking to each other way about stuff they're working on. And there's all these people do projects. People make like compendiums and shit. It's cool. And when they finish them, we'll look at them on stream. Or at least we did last time. I don't think it's fairy tale anime. I just think they just say fairy tale. Where did you get anime from? Oh, because they spelled tail wrong? That's funny. I see. I don't listen. This is not something I'm working on. This is something that the community does itself. So you gotta ask them. But people in the chat, you can clarify. You can answer that question. The DM, are you here in the chat? Yeah, it's you. Hello. This is yours? Wait, let me move myself. Sorry. I'm in the way. Crimson Lance. 3rd level spell. Concentration 1 minute. Range 60 feet. Is this the one that has a material component? Yeah, so it's 30 gold to cast it, or you can sacrifice hit points. I think that's fine. I don't know if the numbers are gonna equal what you feel like they should, but that concept of this spell costs gold or blood, I think is fucking awesome. I feel like that's very cool. You create an impaling lance of solid blood. Let me make it a little bit bigger. You create an impaling lance of solidified blood that erupts from beneath a creature of your choice within range. They have to make a dex save, so they take 5d10 piercing damage. If it's larger or smaller, the target is also lifted 5 feet in the air on a failed save and is restrained. While restrained this way, it takes 4d10 necrotic damage at the end of each of its turns. I'll tell you why I'm a little concerned. Why are there more things written down? All right, let's see. It's very strong. The lance can be attacked with an AC equal to your spell save DC and the number of hit points equal to 5 times your spellcasting modifier. I really don't like this. I really don't like this for really mostly, honestly, one reason, which is the way this is written. I have to do a math game every time I cast this spell, and I don't like that. I also think that spells in D&D scale with the level of spell you're casting. They don't scale with you. So if you want this to function in the way that spells scale, you have to kind of limit it to scaling at based on level, not based on anything connected to you. The only thing that scales connected to you should be the saving throw, DC. So I don't love this. I think this is a little too strong. If the spell lasts the full duration, the spell ends and the lance does not disappear. This spell can be cast without material components. However, doing so causes its caster to take 2d4 plus the level of the spell. Okay, I think taking 2d4 plus the level of the spell, fine. I don't think that is horrible or great. I think that is fine. I don't think it balances out the power of this spell. Because the way that I'm reading it, minimum, this is doing half of 5d10, which is not crazy. But it's single target. But if we're comparing this to another third level spell, let's compare it to Fireball or Lightning Bolt. Those are the traditional big damage spells. They're AoE, which is huge, okay? They are long range, which is huge. They both have a much bigger range than this, right? Fireball's 120 feet, Lightning Bolt's 100-foot line. So they both smoke this thing in range, okay? They are also both all dex saving throws, which is kind of fun. This, I feel like in my bones, this being single target makes it more reasonable for it to be doing a bit more damage. But I think the problem is that you are making it do more damage in, I think, too many directions. That's what I think the issue is. Because 5d10 on its own, let's ignore the rest of the spell for a second. 5d10 is not that much, is not that different than 68. The average of 5d10 is like 23. The average of 6d8 is like 24. Give it, like, it's very, a little less maybe. Very similar. I think they're very similar. I actually think this one might be a little bit more, but I'm not doing the math in my head accurately. So, but as soon as we add the extra 4d10, we are entering like a big... I don't want to yuck another person's yum, but using generative AI to DM sounds not very fun. I agree, Hakase. I'm not sure where that came from. Oh, was that? Oh, I see. Somebody said they're using ChatGPT to play WoW D&D solo. Listen, here's the thing. Here's the secret to ChatGPT. Thank you, Miles. Yeah, so they're pretty similar. They're pretty similar. Here's the thing with ChatGPT. And there's a trick to it. Whatever you say to it that is... Whatever conversation you have with it, it is a hype man for you. It's a hype man for whatever you say. 5d10 average is 27.5 on average. 28 is the average of a damage of a fireball. Yeah, so they're very similar. Thank you, Akase. It's actually 27. Yeah, so it's indistinguishable. It's almost negligible. But here's why ChatGPT. Here, clip this if you want. Here's why ChatGPT is ChatGPT might feel like it works really well for D&D, but also is a little bit brainwashy and stupid. It's a hype man. Whatever stupid idea you have, it's going to hype you up. So it can really lead you down weird paths. Also, it's why people like fall in love with AIs. Because it's like, wow, she really understands me. It's like, no, she doesn't. She just supports your habits. So I outside of the fact that it's not a creature that can think with intention, It also is like an unhealthy type of hype man in that it doesn't actually push or challenge. It's just like, you know, it's just like snorting Mountain Dew. Okay, tangent over. So, almost the same damage. But it also restrains. Restraining on its own is very good here. A 60-foot ranged restrain is solid. And adding the extra dice, adding the extra damage, I think is pretty solid too. What is the action the creature can take to break the restraint? Can they attempt... Okay, this is a rules clarification question, because this... I get lost between 2014 and 2024. Does this need to tell us the breaking condition, or does the restrained condition assume they can make a athletics check or a strength check or an acrobatics check to try to break free? That's what I think. That's my question. Because I think what this comes down to is... Can the creature make saving throws on each of their turns to attempt to break free? If they can, I think this mostly works. If they can't, I think that's an issue. Restraint does not innately possess an escape mechanic. Yeah, so a third level spell that can lock a creature in place from 60 feet away with no additional saving throws after they fail the first, that alone is very strong. So that on top of the amount of damage you're doing, which is, you know, assuming it lasts even 2 rounds, you're almost doubling the damage of Fireball immediately. That's really strong. So I think you need to put some... I think they need to be able to remake the save each of their turns. That's what I think. I think that is going to do a lot to balance this out. And maybe you feel like it's okay because it costs gold or blood to cast it. But I don't know, man. I disagree. I disagree. I think if anything, I think the gold or the blood is interesting. And I think what makes it seem like there's a reason for it is that it creates a permanent structure. It's too much. Because what if you're just fighting one monster? Now it's making all of those attacks it is making all of those attacks against the thing that's restraining it at disadvantage. Also, think about it like this. It's an action economy game, okay? In D&D, the power is often split between action economy. If this requires attack rolls if this requires destroying it to break them free, now instead of it being either literally nothing in the action economy, where the creature just gets to do it at the end of their turn, which is how normal spells work, but it's eating up the attacks of potentially multiple creatures over a round, making it even more powerful of a spell. Because now it's doing damage, it's restraining creatures, and it's eating 1 to 3 other creatures' turns, basically, to turn it off. So I think it has to work more like a traditional spell. I think the idea of it being permanent is cool. But yeah, the action economy that you're going to be forcing the monsters to do to deal with this, if it's a structure, I think it's going to be a little dicey. But I like it. I like the idea a lot. I think that there's also a lot of space for this. This is one of those things that makes sense when I read it. I think that at the end of the day, when you're reading a D&D spells specifically, they usually come in when they're good. Not good is not the right word, but when they work. Usually for me, what makes them work is they sit in one of 2 spaces. They fill a space that really feels like it should be filled, or they elicit like a very evocative, fun dynamic. And the space that this fills for me is the single target damage spell at 3rd level. I don't think there's another good single target damage spell at 3rd level. There might be, but the main damage spells at 3rd level are Fireball, and the spell that this reminds me of is Immolation, which is a single target fire damage spell, which actually might be a good spell to look at to make sure to balance this, but because Immolation is you target a creature and they basically catch on fire and then they burn for a period of rounds. Baba says, I think save at the end of each turn, less damage per turn, and or maybe give it the set AC. Yeah, I think you could keep the AC and stuff for the thing, but I think you either make the AC and the HP of it bigger based on casting it at higher levels, or you just set it. I probably would have it just have a set AC, and then maybe give it more hit points at higher levels that I cast it. And then I would also make it permanent regardless of whether or not they broke free. Them breaking free is just them, like, breaking out of it. But it's still, like, you get to summon a weird object that, like, gets in the way. That can be smashed apart. That's probably what I would do. If I make it able to have save after initial fails, is it worthwhile to make it so you can keep the lance up after they save? Yeah, I think it should just last as long as you concentrate on it. I think if you want. No, it should be I think it should be concentration. It's doing because if it's working, it's doing ongoing damage, ongoing battlefield control. I think it's strong enough that it should require concentration. I think if you like the idea, here's what I might do. Here's what I might do. You don't need to do any of this. But if you are particularly interested in the idea that it is an object in space, I think you need to clarify how much space it takes up on the map. Because if we don't know how much space it takes up, it's hard to decide how powerful it is or what the impact of it is on the battlefield. But if you say it's like takes up like a 1 5x5 foot cube and it's 10 feet high or something like that, then I think it also becomes like a sort of utility spell because it can it's like almost like a little wall you can summon. And then I think it should either basically, so long as you maintain concentration on the spell, it remains. And then even maybe beyond that, if you maintain concentration for the full duration of the spell, it remains for an hour before it, like, melts away. You could do something like that, too. But the reason why I'm almost hesitant against that is because I don't think you need to overcomplicate this. I think it kind of, like, I think it mostly works as is, just with the single target restrains thing. If you want to fuck around with it taking up physical space more in a way that is going to impact the game, you might also need to lower the damage a little bit more, which I don't know if you want to do. Yeah, I agree, Hakase. We talked about that sort of at the beginning of it, but in general, the system for building spells scaling is levels, so we don't want to allow you to build it in 2 different directions at the same time. It can get a little wonky. No, don't be sorry. You got nothing to apologize for. Oh, you didn't say sorry. You said whoops. But whoops means sorry. Let's be real. We all know what whoops means. All right, let's take a look at another piece. I don't really have more thoughts, Miles. I really like this. I always am a little hesitant when I see a spell and I see a bunch of big dice. But I actually think that this is really, like I said, really solid idea. I think you got to fuck around with this a little bit. But overall, I like it. The other thing that you could do is if you feel like if you feel like at the end of this it's feeling too weak, in that you're like, man, I don't know, just make it require less blood and less gold could also help, because this is a downside that you have 100% control of. No one is expecting a downside of this sort of spell, so it's an unexpected thing. It's sort of like a wild card, and when you have a feature that people are not expecting, there is no specific thing you have to do. There's no expectations. So you have total, if you make this 1d4, no one's going to bat an eye at this being 1d4 versus 2d4 or 30 gold versus 50 gold. You know what I mean? People aren't going to think about that. If you made it like 100 gold, maybe they'd think about it. But I think overall it's probably fine. I would actually lower the gold cost, I think. I'd probably make the gold cost 25. 25 tops. Those are all my thoughts. I hope that was reasonably helpful. Do you have any follow-up questions? Guys, can we give a little round of applause for our dear Milo? Now, Milo was very brave in this, more so than most, because they knew I don't really like spells that hurt you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. No questions? You know why I called you Milo? Because it's miles to go. And I saw the beginning and I saw the end and I put them together. I'm a simple man. Or I just read the beginning and the end of the word and I assume the middle, which is maybe not the smartest thing to do, you know? Cruel son. Let's see. Kelka an du today. Are you here? Oh, you got the water strider species you made. This is such a weird idea. This is a D&D species based off of a water strider. Look at this. Let me make sure my head's on the right side of the page. Oh, look at that. Am I better over here? I think I'm better over here. No, whatever. It's fine. No, I'm better over there. I'll go here. Okay. How do I pronounce this word? The Gedidai. Gedidai. The Jedidai. The Jehudai. The Heridai. The Handu. I don't know. Okay. Our lovely Frenchman has brought us a very weird species, and I'm keen to read it. What's funny about your homebrew? You can always tell what media franchise you've been delving into recently. I think that's great. I love that. These are insect people who rule over marshes and swamps and salt marshes. Makes sense. Let's see what they do. As their lands are too inhospitable to be converted by major powers, they live carefree lives away from wars. You sort of repeating yourself here. You don't need to say the same thing too many times. Like this is kind of all we need, I think, to know that they're like kind of in isolation. You could just say they live carefree lives away from wars. This middle information can be inferred by this plus this. All right, let's see what they do. You're a humanoid. You're also considered an insectoid for any prerequisite or effect that requires you to be an insectoid. Okay, you are here in the chat, which means you can answer me. Name what is this in reference to? What is a spell or effect that requires you to be an insectoid in D&D? Does that mean like the spell Charm Beasts work? Like can I cast spells that only target beasts on you? What's the intention? You are making feats for them that are that requirement. Okay. I think then the way that you should do that is you should drop all the insectoid stuff here. And then whatever feat you make that is that is for them, you make that feat. In order to pick that feat, you must pick this species. So you put the requirement in the feat, not in the species. Because the person that's playing this might not want to pick those feats, and then they just have this weird feature that they never understand. You know? That being said, if you're making like 30 different insect species, then I think you could do something like that. If you plan on doing like a whole thing where it's like, these are the insectoids, and these are the special insectoid feats and insectoid magic items. You could totally do that. In which case, I think something like this does come into play because you are basically taking insectoid and turning it into a keyword. Okay, so then that makes sense. As part of a compendium that's doing that totally makes sense. We get Water Strider. You can walk on the surface of liquids as if they were solid ground. While you walk on the surface of calm water, your speed is doubled. You only spend 1 foot of movement speed for every 2 feet of movement. Interesting. I don't know if I want the speed to be doubled, but I kind of see I get it. I wonder, and chat, tell me if I'm wrong. This is a very niche situation. Water Walk is 3rd level, but the important thing to remember with Water Walk is that Waterwalk makes it so you cannot be pulled under. This does not do that. And Waterwalk targets a bunch of creatures at a time. So I think that it's okay for you to have a semi-permanent Waterwalk on one character if it doesn't have the thing where you can't be pulled under and it's just you. I don't think that's the end of the world. I think that's because if it's just you, it's essentially the same as having a swim speed. I don't know if your speed being doubled is too much. I'm a little worried that it is. Are there any species that get a natural swim speed where their swim speed is doubled? I don't think so. I think the Fathomless Warlock gets some version. I think their speed is a little faster in the water. I might not double your speed. I might increase your speed by 10 feet. I don't. That's me being a little nitpicky. But because this also is not going to come up all the time. Oh, Duckbuild had a really good idea. What if Water Strider doesn't work if you're wearing heavy armor? I really like that. I really like that. Cause this isn't magic. It's just your buoyance. Oh, that's so fun. That's really fun. Yeah, I don't think you double the speed though. I think you make the speed a little, just a bonus. You have a Proboscis, which is a natural weapon. It's finesse and 1d6 plus your modifier acid damage. That is very fun. So we have a natural dex-based acid damage attack. Does that mean we could sneak attack with this? Ooh, I like that. When you roll a hit die to regain hit points as part of a short rest, you can add your proficiency bonus to each roll. Gonna be honest, unnecessary, take it out. Maybe I'll disagree with what I just said when I finish this, but this feels more random than anything, and I think that maybe it makes sense. I don't know. Let me keep reading. It feels random. Chat, tell me if I'm wrong. Proficiency in athletics and performance. I would probably make you pick one of the two. Also, why is it athletics and performance and not acrobatics and performance? Why is performance part of being a star athlete? Shouldn't it be? I would make it athletics or acrobatics. Also, I don't think you need to say cultural here because you are making. Remember when you're making homebrew, you aren't trying to really tell people what it has to be. So, like, what if they don't want to have? What if they want to play this species but not have whatever this specific culture is? It's a little bit weird. It's a little bit weird to specify that a certain feature comes from the culture versus not. I don't think you need to do that. I think if anything, that's just going to make people question why you're doing that. All right, I'll take a look below, but I'm telling you that my knee-jerk reaction when I'm like it is like, why? And it's not bad, but it's just like, it makes me feel weird while I'm reading it in the same way that like a sentence that's too long makes me feel weird while I'm reading it. Let's look at Pocket Puddle. Pocket Puddle is an amazing name, by the way. Okay, wait. Let me read this first. A cultural trait is exclusive to the character brought up in their lineage's culture. If our character hasn't lived, replace it with the mention of the renegade trait. You have proficiency in survival and one tool of your choice. This feels... Okay, here's what I would say. If cultural trait is something that you are trying to make as like a new aspect of character design, and you are like building that as like this is a thing that is a unique aspect of the character build, the way that we build characters in my homebrew. Like in the same way that somebody might design a new way to pick your stats or whatever. Then I think this is fine and cool and keep it if you want. If you think that it is important for these guys specifically to have this feature that can be different depending on whether they were raised of the culture or not, I think that is too complicated to add on to this thing. And it just feels really like, why? Like, let's lean into we are Water Strider people. Why are we trying to build like a mini mechanic, a mini meta character building mechanic inside of this? I don't think that's necessary. So that's my main thought, is like, this is a fine thing to do if it's going to be what you're doing in general. But yeah, the culture stuff does feel like a background. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, if this is like in the same way that D&D 2024 uses origin feats, that's what this is. This is like an alternative origin feat thing. So I just think that this is, yeah, I agree. Yeah, Miles, I agree. I don't know. I would probably just drop this mechanic and let you pick between having athletics and acrobatics. Pocket Puddle. Starting at 3rd level, you can cast the Grease spell once without requiring any components. When you do so, the area is covered in water instead of grease. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. Charisma is your spellcasting modifier. In pretty much every species now that gets spellcasting, you get to pick what your spellcasting modifier is when you pick the species. So I wouldn't limit it to being charisma. Also, is it intended, if this is intended to work the same way as the grease spell, I'm worried that people aren't going to understand. I'm worried that people are going to get confused by this being water instead of grease. Because when I see that it's water instead of grease, there's a part of me that's like, that's just flavor, probably. But there's another part of me that's like, is it supposed to just be flavor? Or is there supposed to be something else I can do with this? And I don't really know. So if it's flavor, so I think that the answer, Calcaon, is to not make it grease and your water strider feature. I think you pick one thing or the other. I think it's the grease spell and you get the grease spell, or you get this special once a day feature where you can like surround the area in a 15-foot radius around you in a thin layer of water. While you remain on that water, your water strider feature is active, and you build it like that. I don't think, because right now I feel like there's a lot of assumptions that need to be made in terms of how it's working. And I don't want to have to make those assumptions. So I would just clarify it. If you want it to still work like the grease spell, maybe that's fine too, but I might even just write it out more. Django, the creators here, and they're in the chat. They said that the intention with the water is that it's so it can work with the water strider feature. The thing is, grease is not a very big area. Grease is what, 10 feet? It's a 10-foot square. So does it really matter that your movement speed is doubled when you're moving 10 feet? I really don't think it does. So I feel like grease is not the move here. I feel like the move is you lose the grease, you make it like a 30-foot area, so that it allows you to take advantage of your water strider feature in like the whole room of a dungeon. You know? I feel this BGM works really well for this homebrew. What's BGM? That's a big puddle. But yeah, but that's the point. Why is doubling your movement speed interesting when you can only move 10 feet with that movement? Oh, the background music. Nice. Don't apologize. I think the idea of synergizing abilities is really cool. Yeah, but don't apologize. You're chilling. Anyway, I mostly really like it. I think what I like the most about it is the intended combination of Pocket Puddle and Water Strider. I think you just want to make sure that what happens then is interesting. Because right now, all that happens when you use Water Strider mixed with Pocket Puddle is you get an extra 10 feet of movement. That's it. It's not much. I want it to feel more impactful. I want to be able to feel that movement more than once, or more than once in a way that feels relevant. And I don't think grease is just a big enough area for a movement speed bonus to feel relevant. I love the proboscis, and I love the base attack doing acid damage. I also think that makes it, like, unquestionably one of the strongest natural weapons in the game, which is why I'm like, I don't know if we also need relaxed recovery. I don't think it's OP to do this. In fact, I think it's kind of awesome, and I wish more species did. have sort of more interesting natural weapons that would, you know, even just the fact that it's acid damage gives an incentive to use it, you know? And I think that's fantastic. I don't know. I just think it's worth thinking about a little bit if it when and where it feels too strong, but I don't think it feels too strong. Does anything about the puddle ability make you immune to it? Not in the current iteration, no. But normally, I don't think you are. Do you succumb to your own grease spell? What's up, killer? Yeah, relaxed recovery. I just don't think it's necessary. Kelkaan. I love that I just call you your middle name on this chat. Let me know if you have any questions. I don't really have any more thoughts. I do want to say that I think on the goal, one of the things that's one of the more important things when you're making homebrew, especially like a species, is like, does it feel unique? Does it have some features that really stand out? And this does. This really does. I think the Water Strider and Proboscis sell this idea really well. And I don't really have any more feelings about it. Thank you very much for sharing. I'm so glad you went with making it an insect species and not a Jesus species. I think a Jesus species would have ended up being fucking weird. Let's give Kelkon a little round of applause. Thank you, thank you. Are you guys sad that we're not playing marbles tonight and we're just looking at stuff? I hope you're okay. I hope you're not too sad about it. I just didn't sleep that well last night. All right. Where are we at? Where are we wiggling? Jesus would have been celestial? Here's the problem with whenever you are trying to put anything from the real world into D&D, whether it is a people or a religion or even a piece of technology, it's gonna bother someone. It's gonna, maybe technology is not a good example, but anything that has to do with like beliefs and like peoples and culture, it's very hard to do that in a way that is not just annoying or offensive to someone. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, why go down that, why force yourself down that hard of a level? That's like deciding, I want to play Diablo 2 for the first time, Nightmare mode. I don't want to build, but I want to start level, I don't want to level up first. I just want to start at level 1, Nightmare. Let's go. Well, some people are crazy. You know, some people play WoW Hardcore Classic for the first time. No, I feel like actually WoW Hardcore Classic isn't crazy difficult when you are playing very defensively and with a lot of people at the lower levels. I can see, I'm sure I'll get smoked and lose a character eventually, but not yet. Should we look at more homebrew? Oh, we have a halfling feat. A feat for halflings. Why isn't it loading? Oh, there we go. Boom. This is yours. I love feats. I think feats are such a fun play space. Also, I think that I love species-based feats. I really do. Because it's a great way to be like, man, the Dragonborn's okay, but it's not what I want in the Dragonborn. It's like, make a feat. Make it what you want. Brent, I'll at you in the Discord where, okay? Give me 1 second. There. Brent, from now on, the Cinder Review channel is just for me posting threads with the date that I'm streaming and the things that you would post on that day. So that is what that channel is for. It's right under general chat. So it should be pretty easy to find. And you should see 2 threads that say September 23rd. Or they're just the most recent ones. Did somebody get a commission? I don't think so. No. You see a typo right away that was from Grammar Brain and not Game Brain? That's fine. Just being human, man. You have to be at least level 4 and you have to be a halfling. Upon seeing your innate courage in action, those around you often find themselves a little braver indeed. Holy shit, Geo. What is that sentence? Don't start a sentence like that. Come on, buddy. Geo, can I be annoying for a second? You know what's going to make this sentence so good? Just delete this part. I'm going to just listen. It's going to be, that's a good sentence. Those around you often find themselves a little braver indeed. Great sentence. This opening is, because this is a really, this is a fun flavor. Be careful that you don't write the way that elves talk in bad fantasy. This is not a you problem. This is an everybody problem. Everybody does this. Everybody writes like they're an elf in a poorly written fantasy novel. I don't know why. It happens so often. Remember that you are not an elf in a fantasy novel. You are a human. Or whatever you are. In a much better written novel that uses very sharp and specific grammar to evoke feelings. And it doesn't assume those feelings because you bring an air of aura. That's the problem, is that in all of those like epic speeches in fantasy novels where people have these long going, upon seeing your innate courage in action, those only work with the aura of those that say them. And also, there is an assumption that the person who is speaking has a certain air of grandiose. You know what I mean? But writing doesn't do that. Writing is just writing. Okay, let's see what this does. When you succeed on a saving throw to avoid or end the frightened condition, any friendly creature that you see, that can see you, gains a bonus to its next saving throw to avoid or end the frightened condition equal to your proficiency bonus. Ooh. In addition, you gain advantage on your next attack roll, targeting the creature who tried to frighten you. Interesting. I love the idea. I think the idea is solid. I'm wondering two things. I'm wondering if it's too specifically tied to the frightened condition, and if there's a way we can make it not 100% tied to the frightened condition. What's up, Snowy? Because I do feel like a feat that is just related to the frightened condition is maybe even too specific for a feat. And I'm also wondering if the my gut was like, what if instead of it allowing allies to add your proficiency bonus to their next saving throw, what if it allowed them to immediately re-roll whatever save they were under? That was the frightened save. Like, if you succeed on a save against the frightened condition, any ally that can see you can immediately re-roll any saving throw to end the frightened condition. That is, I think, not as good, maybe, because this sets them up for the next one, and that would also make it so it was just, like, if they're not also affected by the same spell as you, or already under the frightened condition, it doesn't do anything. So I could, but, big but here, I do think that would also allow you to build out a little bit more space to give this thing a different power that was maybe a little stronger than this, that wasn't inherently related to frightening, but it could still be related to bravery and courage and being sort of like a beacon of courage. other ways that we could interpret courage. Let's think about this for a second. Let's try to think of a way that we can interpret courage that doesn't have to do with the frightened condition. The first thing that I was thinking was it could be something that could give creatures, it could allow a creature to have it. I don't know how we would get to this mechanic. I'm just speaking through things that might allow this to be a little bit broader in spectrum. It could allow somebody to negate a having disadvantage on something. It could also be a way to give someone advantage on like some sort of charisma check or some, you know what I mean? Or re-roll a charisma check or something like that. Like I see an argument for having advantage on deception or intimidation or persuasion being tied to courage. Or at least having a brief moment of that, you know? What else could we do that wouldn't... Because I like this. I really like this. I really like this, conceptually. I just think it's not enough on its own right now. And I don't think this solves the problem, because I don't want, as a dungeon master, for you to take a feat that you don't get to use at least once every 2 sessions. And I feel like, realistically, I want you to use it every session. I don't... Whenever the player picks something that divergent, like I am going against the grain of the ability score increase, I am picking something that is just a new feature. It sucks if you don't get to use that new feature pretty regularly. And I don't know how often I'm throwing frightened around. I mean, I'm throwing around more than, like, paralyzed and stuff, but... Advantage on a particularly low HP. Some advantage against frightened for intimidation. Some bonus against medium or larger creatures. It could be something like that. It could be something like that. Especially if it's tied to being a halfling, because everything's bigger than you. I'm really enjoying this type of stream. It's actually what I'm about to start doing, which is DM told and help. Also, homebrew advice. You're very knowledgeable. This is also very helpful. Thanks, mate. Hey, hell yeah. Take a long rest. Kind words. I'm excited that you're about to start doing similar things. Courage could also be about running towards danger. Corwin, I didn't see your question. How often do I do these review feedback events? I stream this way every Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday right now. I am probably going to start doing more streams in November, but I'm going to be traveling a lot in October, and I have to keep my schedule light before then so I can make up for the work I'm not going to be able to do while I'm traveling. So I'm going to be streaming every Sunday, Monday, Tuesday at 7 p.m. EST, basically doing this in different iterations. And then when I get back in November, probably be streaming more days a week, and there'll be a bit more variety. We're going to be doing some Red Dead Redemption RP. We're going to be playing some games with other content creators. I think I'm going to be doing some actual plays with other content creators, which is not something I ever normally do on my channel, but there's folks that I really want to do it with that we're trying to put some stuff together. And there's a couple games that are online games that me and a couple people want to play together that we might explore. But yeah, 3 days a week right now. Sorry, it was a long answer to a short question. Ugh. That's so awesome. Appreciate you greatly. Do you do duo streams with people like Zach the Bold? I don't know Zach the Bold very well. I've done a panel with him once. We're friends on Instagram. We're very friendly and cordial, but we have never really hung out outside of like industry parties and industry events. And in the industry events, weren't really hanging so much as we were like, hey. So I don't know him super well, but he is very friendly and nice from every time I've interacted with him. Yeah, he seems like a chill, cool guy. Zach Speaks Giant is like one of my best friends. That's the Zach that I'm close with. No, not Zach the Bold. Zach Speaks Giant. Different YouTuber. Different Zach. Different D&D YouTuber named Zach. It's confusing. I know, there's a lot of them. Yeah. He's Australian. The one that I'm friends with. But, like, the reason why I'm going to Australia in October is specifically to visit Zach. Also, if you are going to be in the Philly area for PAX Unplugged, which is the week before Thanksgiving, the weekend before Thanksgiving this year, me and Zach are going to be doing a live show together for PAX Unplugged. Gio, I don't know if I came up with a solution here, but I think I hopefully gave you some things to think about. I don't know what the solution is here to make you feel like courage in another way. And if you are like, I like this, I don't care if it's just tied to the frightened condition, it works. It works. But I do think there is space to flesh it out a little bit more so that it feels useful, so that it can feel useful outside of the frightened condition. I just think there's space for that. I don't know what the answer is immediately. I think that you've given some good thoughts. I think a bunch of people gave some good thoughts. I think that it's more a matter of, like, just, you know, playing around with that. Seeing what you can make fit. Yeah, I'm going to be in Australia, dude. I'm going to be in Australia from October 9th through 20th or 19th or something. I'm going to be in Melbourne. I'm trying to say it Melbourne because I know when I get there, as soon as I say Melbourne, people are going to get mad at me. I'm going to Melbourne for like 5 days, and I'm going to Sydney for 4. Yeah, I'm going to be at PAX Oz. Yeah, I'm going to be at PAX Oz, and then I'm going to be at South by Southwest. I'm going to be hanging with Zach Speaks Giant and the Good Games Morley crew. Those are my friends that are there that I'm going to visit. Do you know Good Games Morley? Those are my people. You're working it? Well, maybe we'll see each other. I think I'm getting a badge. I don't know. I'm on a panel, so I think I'm getting like a badge because I'm on a panel. I'm hopefully getting a badge. You work for Lenovo Australia? I don't know what Lenovo is. But what is Lenovo? I'll visit you. I don't know. Is that like a company? I need to get something to drink. I'm thirsty. Guys, tell me what Lenovo is. I'm going to be right back. I need to refill my mug. Give me 2 seconds. But then we're going to look at some more homebrew and chat more. Also, I love you. I hope you're having a fun stream. I'm also going to go pee. So give me a moment. I'm back. Did I miss anything? Hi. Good night, Snowy. Or good night, whoever said good night. Good night, Kelkan. Okay. My room is so fucking hot. I have a fan, which helps a lot now. That thing. But this is a small room, and my computer's hot. And it's hot outside. And when I have the AC on...
Charge complete.
There you go. Who wanted me to jump scare you with the headphone music? You're welcome. When I have the AC on, my computer, my microphone sounds like... Grrr. What should you have for lunch? Breakfast. It's not even a question, dude. Oh, it's dark in my room now. Ooh, how do we feel about darkness? Make it a little bit brighter. I like a little bit of darkness. Well, you got it, Snowy. I'm here for you, bud. Django. Create water is a first level spell that lets you create 30-foot cube of water. Ooh, I missed that comment from a while ago, but that's a good piece of feedback. Should we look at some more brew? Let's see. Brent, are you here? Wait, no, we're not up to you yet. Sorry. Milk Boy, are you here? Milky? Let's see what Milky brought us today. Lesser detection. Ooh, what is that going to do? I guess I should move out of the way so you can read it. That'll help. It's a cantrip. Oh, I love homebrew cantrips. I love homebrew cantrips. That is such a... Listen, cantrips is such a fun place to play because there's so many, like, things you can and can't do. It's such a, like... It is both so limited and so open-ended at the same time. You picture a... It's a cantrip action range self. You picture a small or tiny object in your mind and whisper a short description of it. The description can be as vague as a hunting trap or as specific as my wand. If the object matching the description you whispered is within 10 feet of you, you instantly learn that fact. Otherwise, the spell fails. Huh. Okay, I really like it conceptually. Is it too meta-knowledge powerful? Is it too much like you can solve the mystery without playing the game? Do you know what I mean? That's what... I guess that is my only concern. Being able to sort of meta-knowledge stuff is very strong in D&D. And that's the only thing that I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. I think maybe make it so you have to be familiar with the object. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think having to be familiar with it is very helpful. Because also what an object is in the game world is a little bit open-ended. Like what I'm imagining is like you could use this to probably get like avoid traps. And I don't know if you should be able to do that. Like, you even use the example of a hunting trap. But, like, so that implies that this activates on traps. So I can just walk through a dungeon casting this and detect every trap. And detect traps is already a spell. Yeah, that's the... I think, Brent, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think this is a really fun concept. I think it's dangerous if you can spam it. Which is kind of what makes cantrips tricky. Is because you have to... The whole point of the cantrip is you can spam them. So I think you need to be much more hyper-specific on its limitations, and it needs more limitations. Otherwise, I think it's too spammable, too open-ended. Oh, I agree. Find traps is bad. But I don't think the solution is just turning it into a 10-foot radius cantrip either. I think you gotta focus in a little bit on what the intended purposes of this is, and not have it be so open-ended. It could be kind of like prestidigitation, where it can be used to it can detect, and you put like 3 bullet points of things it can do, or its limitations. Maybe it has to be an object you're familiar with and have handled before or something. Like, that could work. But yeah, I think it could just be like, it's basically it's like an open-ended version of X-ray vision. Because you could just go up to a chest. I detect money. Is there no money in there? Okay, cool. I detect magic items. Are the magic items in there? No. Okay, moving on. I don't love that. I think the problem is still pretty open-ended in terms of what is a tiny object. Is a ring of power a tiny object? Is it, you know? I think you need to be a little bit more like maybe it would work if you made it where it was limited to things that were under a certain gold value. In the same way that, like, there are some spells and abilities that let you summon objects, but they have to be, like, mundane objects that are on the basic objects list, you know? So, like, you couldn't use it to find, like, diamonds, but you could use it to find, like, your hammer. That could work. I think if it was gold value limited, I think that could work. That also allows it to be very different than any of the spells that do similar things, like detect magic or whatever. How much is a dead body worth? A dead body isn't a tiny object, usually. I guess if it's a halfling, it could be a small object. But I think it's worth however much the nearest necromancer is willing to pay for it. Current market rate. I love this idea, though. I think it's a fun idea. It's a fun cantrip in the idea that a smaller tiny object under 100 gold, I think makes sense, yeah. It would still work. Then it would also still have some, like, real solid mechanical purposes, because it would still work on potions. So you could use it to to sleuth out where people are hiding their poisons or their acids or their health potions. Which I think is not inherently going to be, like, a really powerful thing, but is also a little bit more mechanically a thing that helps with it, too. I think you got to be careful with the cumulative chance to be inaccurate. There's a couple spells that do that already in D&D, and it really makes me feel like it shouldn't be a cantrip if it has to have a mechanic that makes it get worse the more you use it. Because the whole point of cantrips is that you always have them. I disagree, Hakase. I think the gold value is going to be better for balancing it. Because you can be familiar with stuff that you don't own. I mean, maybe it's not a huge deal. Maybe it doesn't matter. I think we're nitpicking a little bit. But I think if we wanted to make this just 100% work and know that it's going to work and not have to worry about it working, you make it a smaller, tiny object under 100 gold value. Boom, you're done. It just works. Or familiar, bop, too. But I think that making it magic items or anything of great value, that is the way that because that's what people would try to cheese it for. So if we can eliminate that aspect while keeping all of the fun parts, I think we're in a good spot. I like it, though, Milky. Very fun. Thank you for sharing. It's another example of what I like when I see in my homebrew spells. I don't think this is filling an obvious niche Like, this isn't like, I can't believe this spell didn't exist. But it's the other thing. It's like, oh, this is fun and interesting. I'm immediately thinking about fun ways that I could use this, both in terms of world building and in terms of character stuff. And that usually is a good sign. If it feels like it's evocative from a dungeon master world building perspective and evocative from a player use perspective, that's usually a very good sign. Oftentimes, homebrew that is jank feels really good from the player side and really shitty from the DM side, or vice versa. So if that just, if you know what I mean? Because everything that's overpowered, players are excited for. Good night, take a long rest. See you, buddy. What's up, Carter? Let us say, round of applause to our dear Milky. Thank you for sharing. Fun piece. Fun piece. Oh. Oh, this seltzer is helping me live. Ace, are you here? Ace, are you here? Ace the Donut, say hi in the chat. Speak now. Let me know you're here. We're gonna move on. You are here. We are not gonna move on. This is a species, an illithid-based species. Cool. Oh, and you put it on Homebrewery. I love this website. This is not what you're here for, and you probably know this. But if/when you get to a place where you want to share this publicly, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. Don't. The only thing that I really want anyone to apologize for is if they're being mean. Misunderstandings, late responses, miscommunications. We don't need to apologize to each other for that. Let's be gentle. Let's be kind. Let's be gentle in all the ways we can so that there is space for us to be less gentle when we're giving feedback without it seeming like we're assholes, you know? But what I was going to say is, if you should put a really badass picture of like a half illithid, half person, and you should fill the whole other half of the page with it, and then put like down here like a little bit of a put one of those like stick out blocks that like pop up, like almost looks like an editor's note, and then like put like a fun quote, and then this is gonna look really good, and people are gonna be a million times more likely to read it. It's stupid. It's so stupid, but for better or worse, when you're sharing Homebrew on the internet, this part is not actually as important as the art in terms of getting people to click on it. So you probably know that. Maybe I'm speaking to the choir here, but I just like to remind people of that if their goal is to share it publicly, because it is really frustrating. It's a really shitty reality, but it's also one that if you don't contend with, you are not going to get the attention you deserve. You kind of need to play the game of self-promotion marketing in terms of making it look nice if you want other people to look at it. And at the end of the day, if you're just making it for yourself, who cares? But if you're making it with any aspirations for other people using it, or for, you know, becoming somebody that like has a Patreon that makes money making homebrew or whatever, the difference between something having like art and a style to it versus not is the difference between it getting 3 upvotes on Reddit and it getting 150 upvotes on Reddit. Annoying! But many things are. All right, let's see what this thing does. Is it illithid people? I'm assuming it is. This race is a illithid-like race that have more humanoid tendencies and appearance. Venus, answer me right now. It is going to have an impact on my feedback. Is English your first language, or is English not your first language? I'm going to keep reading, but I want you to answer in the chat whenever Twitch catches up. Usual carrying carrying much more human-like faces, although still having tentacles. They are often confused as tieflings or regular humans due to their slight purple hue and short tentacles. So, if English is not your first language, then what I think you need to do is you need to start making sure that someone, not making sure, but asking someone who English is their first language to give you some feedback when you're writing your sentences. Because there's a lot of spelling mistakes here, and there's a lot of things that don't really make sense as sentences. If English is your first language, okay, then I'm gonna be a little bit more harsh and just straight, not harsh, but we can just talk through it. So the first things first, you don't want to put the same word twice in one sentence like this. This race is a illithid-like race. So you know what you're saying? You're saying this is a race. This is a race that is like an illithid. You don't need the first part. You could just say, this illithid, these, like for example, this could just say, this illithid-like species have share many appearance, have a slightly humanoid appearance. Tendencies is spelled wrong. Appearance is spelled wrong. You have a shit ton of spelling mistakes. Write your shit in a Google Doc first, buddy. Do it. This seems like it's written by someone whose English is not their first language. So that's not great. Usual carrying much more human-like faces. That doesn't make any sense grammatically. Literally none at all. Do you mean they usually carry human-like faces? Does that mean they literally have human faces they are holding in front of their face? Because if that's what that means, that's accurate, but that's still not a great sentence, and it's not enough explanation because that's fucking crazy. I think what you mean is that they have human faces, or they have human facial features, but you don't carry those. They just are what you have. So this flavor text needs a lot of work. This really isn't working right now. It's just confusing. This is the sort of flavor text, like this sentence in particular, this is the sort of sentence that is gonna make someone not read your homebrew. Because if I'm confused by this sentence, my lizard brain is like, you are gonna be confused. If they can't write a sentence in a way that is smooth to read, how are they gonna be able to write a mechanic that's smooth to read? I'm not trying that to be mean. I'm just telling you that that's literally what your lizard brain is gonna say when they read this. So first and foremost, when you are making flavor text, it doesn't need to be a lot. It doesn't need to be long. It really doesn't need to be anything either. It doesn't need to be poetic. It can be incredibly short. It can be incredibly short. What's up, Card? Again, I'm assuming Cardor and Cardor Wrath are the same. So, what you can do is you can just make it really concise. Just say, this is a illithid humanoid hybrid race. Period. That literally will be better flavor text than what you have here, because people will be like, all right, I get what they're going for. I can just read the mechanics now. If you're not confident in your creative writing and you don't want to have to work on it that hard, make your flavor text 2 sentences and make it say, this race looks like a combination of humanoids and illithids. While most of the time they look human, they have little tentacles that they can protrude when they need to, period. Something like that. It really doesn't need to be more than that. But you're shooting yourself in the foot by having sentences like this second one here. Write in full sentences. Write in full sentences. And if you're not good at grammar, that's okay. Write it in Google Docs, and Google Docs will let you know when you aren't using the right spelling and when you aren't writing in a full sentence. It'll give you the little underneath. Shuggy also brings up a very good piece of feedback. You can also read your own writing out loud. Because a lot of the times when you read something in your brain, you forget, you're skipping all of the, you sort of know what you know what you intend to say, so you read it as you intend it to sound. When you read it out loud, you create a level of separation between your brain and your writing. and that allows you to think about it more objectively. Hakaste suggests something like the Illith, though less warlike and domineering than their Illithid ancestors, retain their tentacle features and purple-hued skin. Yeah, something like that. Literally, it just needs to be grammatically correct. That's literally what it is. I don't even like, if you need a paragraph to write your flavor text, that's fine. But if you're writing sentences like this, then it's not working. Because that's not an English sentence. All right, we're moving on from flavor text. That's terse. That's not even the most important thing, honestly. Because what matters more is the mechanics, making sure they're evocative, making sure they're clear. The reason why I focus so much on flavor text when I'm starting a piece is because for the people that do read this, not everyone is going to read the flavor text when they click on something. A lot of times they just jump right to the mechanics anyway. But for the people that do read the flavor text, it is the difference between them being the biggest fans and supporters of your homebrew or the people that never read your homebrew. This is going to be what makes the most devoted and the least devoted. And you are really missing out on the devoted if you don't get the flavor text in line. You want that hardcore. The people that you want to like your homebrew the most are going to be the people that want to read. Like, you want the people that want to read flavor text to like your homebrew. Those are the people you want to like your homebrew the most, I think. Okay, let's take a look at the actual mechanics. You're a humanoid. You're also considered an aberration for any prerequisites or effects that require you to be an aberration. Are there any prerequisites or effects that require you to be an... This is just so that spells affect you. Is there any benefit to this? If you're a humanoid and an aberration, that just means that things that affect monsters and humanoids affect you. If there's something else, I don't know. I think that's probably okay. If I were you, I probably would just pick one. Like, it depends on what setting it's for, but there are species in D&D where you are a fae. There's species where, like, I think that's okay. I don't think it breaks the bank. Is it OP to make you not count as a humanoid? Oh, it's strong. It's strong. I don't know if it's OP though. I don't know. I'll go. It depends on what else you get, I guess. But I think you go in either direction. Let me see what else we get. Walking speed, ability score increases, regular height. Due to your illithid origins, you can innately cast some spells, detect thoughts, and levitate once per long rest or short rest. Beanos. This is not how innate spellcasting works in D&D. If you go to any species in D&D, maybe there's one or two exceptions, but 99% of species in D&D, if they get innate spellcasting, it works in a very specific way. You get a cantrip and or once a day level 1 spell. Actually, usually you get a cantrip at level 1, a first level spell at level 3, and a second level spell at level 5. That's what it is 9 times out of 10. If you want this to follow the normal way that innate spellcasting works, it's you give them Mage Hand at level 3, and then you give them Mage Hand at level 1, Detect Thoughts at level 3, and Levitate at level 5. That will actually just make it work like the way innate spellcasting works for everything else. If you want to make it different, you have to make me understand why it's different, and I'm not seeing, I feel like there's no logical reason for it to be here. Let's take a look at Mind Blast. Once per long rest, you can use an action to emit psychic energy. Oh god, these spelling mistakes are fucking killing me, dude. 60 feet. Okay, so you can target one creature within 60 feet of you. They have to make an intelligence saving throw. It's 8 plus your intelligence modifier plus your proficiency bonus. Don't do this. You see how we are picking our spellcasting modifier here? Make whatever spellcasting modifier we pick here be the one that we use here. Don't make them different. On a fail, they take 2d8. Jesus, this spelling. 2d8 psychic damage. On a success, they take half. This is not great. This is like pretty uninteresting, and it's also kind of not good. It's basically a once a day cantrip. It's a little better than a cantrip, because even if they succeed on the saving throw, they take half damage. But it's literally just a cantrip that scales faster. That's all it is. It's just a little bit better than a cantrip once a day. I don't think we need that as a feature. I think you make it better, or at least different than a cantrip. So the way that a regular Illithid's Mind Blast works is that it's a cone. Make it a cone. Once per day, you can send out a psychic blast in a 15-foot cone in front of you. All creatures in the area have to make a saving throw. It literally make it like a breath weapon, but make it, you know, maybe it doesn't do damage, maybe it like slows them, or maybe it does psychic damage, but it could basically just be a breath weapon. I think that would make so much more sense for a psychic blast, mind blast, than a one target ranged thing that you could basically just accomplish with a cantrip anyway. Yeah, I wouldn't have it fully stun, but maybe it does like a minor stun, where if you fail, your movement speed goes to 0 and you have disadvantage on all attack rolls or something. You know, something that, like, they're like dazed. I think that could work really well. Let's take a look at tentacles. You have short tentacles that shooting from your cheeks, used to make unarmed strikes. 1d6 plus your strength modifier, psychic damage. Make this also based off of, I think, whatever you make your spellcasting modifier. I think that would make it more fun. So you get like a, you know, if you're an intelligence, especially if it's doing psychic damage, or as you spell it, phychic damage. If it's doing phychic damage or psychic damage, either one. I think you're nailing most of the concept here. I think you got most of the feeling of an Illithid type person. I think that detect thoughts and levitate do a lot of work. I think if you change Mind Blast to be a little bit more like what their regular Mind Blast is, I think that'll be solid. I think having a kind of fun little magic psychic melee with your tentacles is also mostly fine. So Hakase brings up a point which I wanna kind of take it to go in another direction. He said, do normal Illithids get tentacle attacks? Not really. They like grab you with their tentacles and it stuns you while they eat your brain. So it's a little different. But this is not an Illithid. And this is honestly what I think I would say my biggest piece of feedback for you is that this is an Illith. You go half of the flavor text is about how these things are kind of humanoid. So if I were you, I would probably make that something in the mechanics too. And that's not something that is going to be super tricky to do in the mechanics, but like with tentacles, what if the tentacles take a bonus action to extend and a bonus action to retract? And when the bonus action are retracted, you just look like a normal humanoid, and maybe someone can make an investigation check to determine that you're not. But then when they come out, you can like start attacking with them and stuff. But give us, like, that's not even strong. That's not really that strong. That's more flavor, but that's so much more flavorful, and that really helps sell the fiction that you are a humanoid Illithid thing. You're not just an Illithid. We want a little bit of that in here, you know? Because right now, this is just, like, if you called this Illithid, and this just said, this is a race of Illithids. If you want to play an Illithid in D&D, use this. It could just be literally this also. And you don't want that. You want this to be the thing that you are making. And there's some distinctness in there that I think you have space to investigate, which is this humanoid Illithid mixture, right? This sort of in-between space that it can sit in. Because those are my main thoughts. I think it's an interesting idea. I mean, I've seen versions of this before. I think this is a very solid walk towards it. I think we just need a little bit more to make this feel like its own thing and not an Illithid, specifically, because it's very, very Illithid. It's all Illithid right now, and just like a little transformation-y bit would help. Okay, thank you very much for sharing, buddy. Also, straight up, if you just write your homebrew out in Google Docs before you put it in Homebrewery, your writing is going to improve 100. It's going to be crazy. All right, let us give Beanos a big round of applause. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Noodles stuck in your teeth? That's a crazy person idea. Creative writing's super hard. They should take no offense for what I said for this opening paragraph. They said they were in a rush when they wrote this flavor text. You know what that means? That means we're not judging this is not us judging their potential. This is just us being honest about where it's at. They know they rushed that. That's fine. Don't worry about it. They got nothing to be offended by. Let us see. Snowy, are you still here? Yeah, you are. What did you make? This is one of my oldest species, which I revamped for my 2024 species document. Enjoy reading my baby-brained species as a noob DM from 3 years ago. What the fuck does that mean? Does that mean... are you trying to preempt me for it being weird or emo or something? I guess we'll see. Are you going to be sad when I skip all the flavor text? So this is the thing that is true of me, and it doesn't need to be true of you. I am going to read as much of the flavor text as I would earnestly read if you were not asking me to look at this, and I want that to be helpful for you in you deciding where you prioritize your flavor text writing, okay? So I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm going to be real. I'm just going to read as much of it as I would read if I was looking at this online. I wouldn't read any of this. That's the first thing. The Kenphilius are a species of fae that resemble centaurs and mature at a similar rate to humans. Standing over 6 feet tall, measuring 8 feet long. Okay, so here is where I would probably stop. I need this sentence right here to be an elevator pitch for the rest of this. A good way to write the opening sentence to your flavor text is, if someone only read the first sentence, it needs to be enough that they understand the vibe of this. I think that saying that they are a species of fae that resembles centaurs is a solid start, but why are you immediately getting into like the nitty gritty of who cares that they mature similarly to humans or how tall they are? Like that's really important when, you know, I decide to be this and I'm like figuring out my character. But that's not important on selling me on this idea. What's important in selling me is like, what is cool about them? I think what's cool about them is that they're cat people. So I think this first sentence needs to basically say, if I were you, this first sentence should probably be like, the Kenphilius are centaur-like creatures from the Feywild. And I wouldn't use this sentence exactly, but something like but with cat lower halves instead of horse lower halves. That's the information that needs to get in this first sentence. That's the vibe. They are Fey-origined cat centaurs. That's cool. That's interesting. That might make me also decide to read more. Because the other reason why I'm stopping here I'm stopping at this second sentence for one of two reasons. Because these are grammatically correct. They're not hard sentences to read. I'm stopping because I am impatient and I just want to see the mechanics, and that's going to be 90% of people. Or I feel like you aren't explaining this to me, and I'm judging you as being one of those people that doesn't know how to tell a short story. And I'm judging you as the type of person that instead of telling me about like the problem that you need solved in your D&D campaign, you need to tell me the whole story of your whole D&D campaign before we can get to the problem. And that to me, and I don't, that to the reader makes the reader go like, oh, I don't need to read this. This is ranting. This is them indulging in their own story. And we don't want the reader to think either of those things when they start reading your piece. In an ideal situation, the first sentence should make the lazy people who normally don't want to read anything, make them go, oh, that sounds interesting. Or make them go, oh, that doesn't sound interesting. But we want that, they need to, for the lazy person, the first sentence is supposed to make them know that they like it or don't like it immediately. For the less lazy person, the first sentence is supposed to make them want to read the second sentence. So in general, that's a good rule of thumb when you're making homebrew, especially if you're the kind of person that likes writing in-depth lore. Because there's going to be someone that reads this whole thing just because they're like, I like cat centaurs, but you are going to It's the difference between you making people read this that inherently are going to read it because they like cat centaurs, and you getting people to read this that wouldn't normally read it and might not have thought they liked cat centaurs, but by the time they're done reading it, they are excited and invigorated to use cat centaurs, you know? This is a sales pitch. It's a creative story sales pitch. It's a creative story sales pitch for world building and for character building. And that's a good way to think about it when you're making your flavor text. Instead of you selling someone something in a way where they're going to use money to buy it, you're selling it to someone where they're going to use energy to build their story around it. That's at least what the first paragraph is. The rest of it can be details. Everyone should do that with their flavor text. Remember that. You want the reader, you want to touch the lazy reader and the deep reader early. And then the later stuff can just be for the deep reader because the lazy reader's not going to do that. The lazy reader's going to do this. They're going to go, ooh, face centaur sounds cool. Lions, tigers, okay, cool. That's what they're going to do. Okay. You are large. I would say that right there is probably the biggest. That's a big no-no in 5e and in the 2024 rules. And it's a big no-no for a couple reasons. One of the big reasons being a large creature is a big no-no is it is limiting for the types of stories you can tell as a dungeon master. It's the same reason why a lot of the classes that require a mount aren't as popular. Because it's like, if the door isn't big enough, you can't enter the dungeon. So that's the first thing, is that it's just limiting, right? You can't climb a normal ladder. You can't enter a normal room. And some people might say that limit balances it out. But it doesn't really, because it limits it from, again, a creative storytelling perspective. It doesn't limit it like you are weaker in one way and stronger. Like, you not being able to access a space isn't a game limitation. It's like a fun limitation. It's a you know, so that's one issue. The other issue is that it can unintentionally make you a lot stronger than you are intending a character to be. Because things that emanate from you, AoE effects that radiate out from you, radiate out from your edge. So if you take up 1 square on the battle map, and you have a aura that is a 5-foot aura, okay? That 5-foot aura is going to affect 8 squares. If you are a large creature, that same aura now affects 12 squares. And that gets bigger and bigger and bigger the bigger the aura is, or the bigger you are. That problem grows. And there's a lot of spells and abilities that radiate out from your character that are inherently just going to be much stronger by you being bigger. That also extends to your ability to interact with the world. It's why giving a creature reach is really strong. A weapon with 10 feet of reach, or the ability to have 10 feet of reach, is quite strong. They are fixed at the center, but they radiate off your edge. Because think about it like this. A creature is a 5-foot cube, right? In a battle map. If you have a thing that radiates 5 feet from you, it doesn't radiate out from the center of that cube. It radiates out from the edge of that cube. If I cast Word of Radiance, it doesn't hit every creature within 2.5 feet of me. It hits every creature within 5 feet of me. Word of Radiance also just is like that. Like, all creatures within 5 feet of you, or there's also a lot of abilities that aren't aura, that are like all creatures within your reach, or all creatures within 5 feet of you, or all creatures within 10 feet of you. Any of those sorts of things. Any of those sorts of things. All of those become much stronger. And then the last thing that I'm thinking of right now, maybe there's others, but the last one is there are combat mechanics that are specifically built around your ability to shove and grapple that are based on size that normally come into play where it's like there's literally class features. Like, there are species features that are like, you can grapple creatures one size larger than you. Which means that you can grapple large creatures. This is just that. This just puts all of those on steroids also. The other thing about this is it negates a couple class features. Because if you go Rune Knight, you don't get to become big. You already just are big all the time. So when you use your Rune Knight power to grow in size, you become large. Same thing with the Path of the Giant Barbarian. When you use your Rage to grow, you become large. Why are these core subclass features that are limited in use and only last for a very short period of time, why are they tied to you becoming specifically large? Because of all of the things I just said. Because growing in size, just that, even not even your stats changing, just growing in size is quite strong. For all of those reasons, this needs to be medium. If you disagree, that's fine. But I'm never gonna back down from that argument. A 40-foot movement speed is the fastest movement speed in the game outside of the Centaur. Be careful of doing this. That is basically a very if you are deciding let me show you. Let's look at the Centaur for a second. Oops. Because the Centaur gets a 40-foot movement speed. That's the only other species that does. And then I want to know I'm curious what else the Centaur gets that's good. So let's just look at the Centaur. 40-foot movement speed, medium. If you move at least 30 feet and then hit with a melee weapon attack, you can immediately use a bonus action to make one attack against the target with your hooves. So basically, if you go 30 feet in one direction and you use a melee weapon attack, you get a minor bonus action attack. It's 1d6 plus your strength modifier, so it can never be a magic item, right? There's a lot of features that it doesn't tie with, but with certain classes, it's still pretty good. Now, you count as one size larger for all the carrying, pushing stuff, which is cool. And also, it's harder to move up and down things. And then, last but not least, you get proficiency in one thing. So, really, you get charged. These are the main features. You get 40-foot movement, and you get a very specific type of bonus action attack if you charge. Everything else is essentially ribbon features or things that make it harder to exist. That's going to be important to think about when we look at here. Because I think we are getting too many features. Let's see. We get a claw attack. That is fine. It is not particularly flavorful, but it makes sense on a cat person. We get a big jump. You can long jump a number of feet equal to 10 plus your strength score and high jump equal to 5 plus your strength score without a running start. I mean, is this just the rules of jumping explained with this afterwards? I don't know if you need to write it that way. You know what I might do here? I might even make it better. I might say you can jump up to half your movement speed without a running start. I might make it something like that. Give you like the ability to big jump. It's increased? What do you mean it's increased from the base? What are you talking about? Whatever it is, I think if the goal here is you can jump high, don't give us a math equation version of jumping. People hate the jump mechanics. Just tell us how far we can jump in one go. Say, you can jump 20 feet. A 20-foot jump is very good, by the way. That's very strong. We're going to drop all the large stuff. Giving us advantage on, yeah, like this is just, we don't want this. If you want to do the one size larger for determining carrying capacity, I think you can. But to be honest, I don't think you should. Because the reason the Centaur gets all of that is because horses are like strong, sturdy work animals. Cats are like quick, nimble hunters. I don't think a cat the size of a horse could pull more than a horse for as long as a horse. So I think, if anything, you completely drop this but to balance out dropping it, you keep enhanced leap. And now it actually feels like you're a cat person because you're not really strong in pulling stuff, you're jumping really well. Cats are powerful in short bursts. They're predators. They're not stamina hunters. One size larger for determining your carry capacity is 100% stamina. So I think that you just drop all of this. Natural affinity. Your fate connection has granted you an intuitive connection with nature. You have proficiency in one of these skills. Is this just the same? It's just the same. Animal handling, medicine, nature, survival. Don't do that, man. This is too similar. Okay, now this is way too similar to the centaur. This needs to be its own thing. This is just the centaur, but better. Don't do that. Make them unique. Look how much flavor text you wrote. Look at all of this fiction that you took the time to write that I bet you care about quite a bit. I bet there's some stuff in here that's going to help us find some stuff that actually makes more sense for these guys than just copy-pasting the centaur. This is not a centaur. This is your creation. This is your unique thing with its own unique identity. You know? Let that identity shine through. I think copying from a species that exists in terms of building the layout of your species makes a lot of sense. But you don't want to copy the details too much. Use your details. Use your details. I get, like, this thing should fucking get acrobatics as an option. It's a cat. Cats are the most acrobatic creatures in the animal kingdom. You know what I mean? So I think or stealth would be a good option too. I think that you got to play around here with not worrying too much about make sure your voice is shining through. I don't want to read the D&D Beyond Centaur twice. I want to read the D&D Beyond Centaur once, and then I want to read your cat centaur. I want to be a fucking cat man, dude. I also have a completely separate idea that I want to suggest about the movement speed that I think is going to make this more cat person. Panther build. You have the upper body of a humanoid and lower body of a big cat. Any climb that requires hands and feet is arduous because you're a panther. Yeah, dude, you literally are copy-pasting the centaur. Cats, you know what? You know what cats are? You know what? Horses really are bad at climbing. Horses suck at climbing. I bet a horse couldn't climb a tree to save its life. Do you know what notoriously is one of the best climbing animals in the world? A cat. Cats are so good at climbing. So I think you get rid of panther build. We don't need it. I mean, maybe you keep language in there if you want to just describe the vibe. But honestly, dude, I don't think this thing should have a movement speed of 40 feet. I think you give this thing a movement speed of maybe 35 feet. And then you give it a climb speed. Or is that just a tabaxi at that point? I don't know. But I think that you stop just copy pasting stuff from the centaur. Let this thing be its own thing. Like I think this would make more sense if you had a movement, like sort of a semi-regular movement speed and also a natural climb speed because you're a fucking cat. And then we have pounce, and pounce is replacing charge. If you move at least 20 feet in a straight line towards a creature and hit them with your claws on the same turn, that creature has to make a strength saving throw or be knocked prone. If the target is knocked prone, you can make one melee weapon attack against them as a bonus action. I think that this is doing too many things because we have to move 20 feet, and then we have to make a very specific attack, and then we can use our bonus action to make that very specific attack again. If I were you, what I probably would do is make it so if you use your enhanced leap at a creature and then immediately hit them with a melee attack, don't limit it to your claws. Let it be any weapon. then you can force them to make a saving throw and knock them prone. I think you cut out the bonus action unarmed strike, or maybe keep it if you really need to. But I think you tie it so it's like you are literally using your leap to slam down into them. That's why you make this 20 feet, so it just ties perfectly with this. And then, you can make a save or get knocked prone. I think that'd be juicy. That'd be juicy. Pounce is not copy-pasted from the Centaur. Centaur gets charge. It's actually better. So the way that charge works is you have to move a little bit further, and you just immediately get the attack. It's not better. It's different. This is you only move 20 feet, but then you have to do a claw attack, and then they get knocked prone, and then you can make another attack, which is why I think it's too much. I would just make it the prone. I would make it tied to leaping. I think there's a lot of room for something here, but I think that the main feedback I have for you is that you are relying too much on this being a centaur and not enough on this being a cat centaur. This is not a horse person. This is a cat person. Diana of the Rose! Welcome, 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 welcome. How's it going? We are looking at people's homebrew. We are looking at their species, magic, species, feats, and spells. How is your stream going? I hope y'all are doing good. Dude, I am ready to have some Vegemite. Diane, are we going to hang? We're going to hang. So what I heard, okay, so what I heard about PAX Oz is that from the creator side, it's way more chill than Gen Con. Like, you know how Gen Con, it's like we're all trying to, like, be chill, but also climb the social ladder and, like, network in a way that is, like, a little bit tedious. What I have heard is that our Gen Con experience is going to be more chill because it's just a lot smaller of a convention and it's more, we're like going to bars and hanging out. So I'm very hopeful that we're just mostly going to hang. It's going to be chill. But I'm excited to chill with you and see you. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time. We're reviewing D&D Homebrew. Stick around if you like that. Also, if you want to ask a D&D Homebrew question, I'm easy to make go on a tangent. My name is Cinderblock Sally. I talk a lot about Warhammer and a lot about D&D. That's who I am. By the way, Diana, do you remember when I peer pressured you to become a content creator and then you did? How much credit can I take for being a big support in that? I'm not going to take any credit for your success because I think you did all that by yourself. But do you remember when I was peer pressuring you to stream? I do. Anyway, I'm super glad that you decided to do that. Peer pressure sometimes is good. Hope you like my concept at least. Snowy, whether or not I like your concept is irrelevant, buddy. Who cares if I like your homebrew? It's not for me specifically. You should like your homebrew and your audience should like it. Your players should like it. Remember that when you're making something creative, you don't seek validation from some balding random dude on the internet. Who cares what I think? I'm going to try to make it the best version of whatever it seems like you're trying to make. But whether or not I like it doesn't matter. I'm very picky with the things that I like. I will help you try to make it the best it can be, regardless of whether or not I like it. If you care about my validation, I would say stop doing that. I would say you are valid. Okay? You've spent the time to make homebrew for people. You took the time out of your day to do writing homework so that someone else can have a new toy in their imagination game. That's fucking awesome. Who cares if I like it? You win the game, okay? So, my liking it doesn't matter. I just like discussing homebrew also. But I get upset when people are like, I just want to know if you like it. Because who cares? Do you like it? If you like it, great. That's what matters. Do your players like it? And if you are like, I like it, but I want it to improve, then I'm there to help. I'm there to help. Anyway, let's give a little bit of a round of applause for Snowy. Snowy, was this the first piece of homebrew I've ever looked at from you? I don't remember. You're one of the newer kids in town. Anyway, thank you for sharing. It's always a little scary to share your homebrew. This is also a very good example of a piece of homebrew where the flavor is really solid. Like, it's a very... Like, the idea of a centaur that's a cat person totally makes sense. You don't need to work a lot to sell the fiction of why that's a fun idea. So you have a lot more... Oh, the Warhammer one! Yes, thank you. So you don't have to work as hard to sell the fiction. So you have a lot more space to play with the mechanics. Anyway, thank you for sharing. If you would like to participate in any of the homebrew reviews that I do, if you're like, I like this, all of the ways that people participate in these are through my Discord, for anyone that's just got here. Basically, I stream Sunday through Tuesday, usually around 7 p.m. EST till I get tired. And I put a thread up in my Discord where people can submit homebrew for us to look at for that day. And we do a combination of, I did a clip, I post it. Yeah, you can post it wherever you want. Post it in the Discord. I don't think you have the ability to post linked things in the chat. I don't have active enough mods to allow hyperlinks in the chat. I get people take advantage of that by posting trolly weird shit too much. But you certainly, but definitely post it in the Discord if you want. What was I saying? I don't remember. Oh, yeah, I do these streams pretty much every week where I look at people's homebrew. We talk about D&D, writing, character stuff. Usually, we have at least one day a week where it's less us reading stuff and more people calling in. If that sounds fun for you, stick around. If it doesn't, no worries. But I think that we got another piece of brew to look at. What's your favorite build / character you ever played with? I'm a very simple D&D player. I like barbarians. They're my favorite by far. Brent, are you still here? Yes, you are. Let's see what Brent sent in. Brent sent in a spell. I like being a barbarian because when I'm a dungeon master, I have to think about so many things. And when I'm a player, I don't want to think about so many things. I want to think about the story, and I want to think about how to use my one tool to solve the problem. That's the other thing. I like... When you're a spellcaster or a character that's multi-classed into a bunch of different stuff, you basically have a bunch of tools to solve the problem. And I think that that can be a lot of fun for some people. But I like a barbarian because a barbarian doesn't have a bunch of tools. They only have one tool. They have strength. And that's it. So for a barbarian, it's not about having a lot of tools to solve the problem. It's about having one tool and figuring out how to use that tool to solve the problem. And I like that social, creative storytelling challenge more. I think it's more fun for me. I also don't want to have to keep track of anything. Also, Barbarian's just the coolest class in anything ever. This spell is called Blanch. What did you say about it? Simple, silly spell for culinary casters. You like the damage symbols? Yeah, they're nice. This was for a player of mine who liked being the chef of the group. Hell yeah. Making homebrew for a player that likes something specific, that is one of the most powerful ways to make your players keep playing D&D with you. Nothing makes a player feel more seen than you giving them homebrew that only really makes sense for their character. And it makes so much sense for their character. Whether that's a magic item, or a feat, or a spell. Oh, it's a really... If you are a D&D player and you have experienced somebody making homebrew, I'm sure you know the feeling. Nothing feels better as a player from getting homebrew that is bespoke for you. Because you know what it means? It means the Dungeon Master took the time to think about you and what you want very specifically. We all know that our Dungeon Masters want us to have fun. We all know that our Dungeon Masters are, at the end of the day, trying to have fun with us. But often it's like coming through having, adversarial interactions. Through challenging encounters, through monsters, through NPCs. This is just a like, hey, I see you. Here's something that I like that you like. Here's the thing that you like now. Here's a special gift. I'm on your team holistically. I'm so on your team that I'm making the game different so that you can play your character better. Oh my god. Come on now. That's like the best thing you can do. Anyway, rant over. What subclass of Barbarian is your favorite? If you are somebody that has been following me and used to watch my streams a year ago when I streamed more, you know the answer, and you can spam it in the chat. I used to talk about it all the time. There is one Barbarian subclass that is my favorite. It's the best one. It is... There's not even a question about it. Somebody say it in the chat if they know it. Beast Barbarian. Yeah, Beast. The Beast Barbarian is the best Barbarian. Also, it's, I think, one of the better designed subclasses in D&D 5e. I think it's like a good, like, benchmark for well-designed subclasses. Totem's fine, but it's not my favorite. Zealot is also really good. But I think that in terms of playability, evocativeness, interestingness, dynamic, like play that makes me like, oh, Beast Barbarian, 100%. Okay, let's take a look at this spell. Blanch, first level evocation. 1 action, 30-foot radius, or 30 feet, bards and clerics. You hurl 2 translucent spheres in rapid succession at a creature within range. Make a ranged spell attack against the target. On a hit, they take 1d8 fire damage, 1d8 cold damage, and its form becomes immutable and cannot be changed until the start of your next turn. Ooh! Weird! When you cast this spell using a 2nd level or higher, both the fire and the cold increases by 1d4. I don't know if I love that. That's a kind of a clever way to try to up both of the damage types. I guess that works for that. I really think this is a funny spell. I guess when you blanch something, they do become a little bit immutable, huh? Why did you do that? Why is it immutable? Why does blanching make something immutable? Does it do that? I don't know enough about blanching. What does blanching do? It's like flash cold hot cook. Okay. I think this is a really fun spell. I think it's a really fun spell for 2 reasons. Number 1, I like doing fire and cold damage, and I like the flavor. Ba-dong-ching. But also, I don't think there's a single spell in D&D that does this second part. So if you drop concentration on polymorph, does it stay transformed? I think it does. Until the start of your next turn, yeah. I think it does. I guess in theory you could target one of your allies. Keep them up in their bear form or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. What if a druid's wild shape runs out? That's a good question. See, I was thinking about it in the negative, like using it to prevent a creature from, like, you know, turning into mist or whatever. But using it as a bonus to your allies is interesting too. If I were Brent, I would try to avoid it being a bonus. I think it should stay a limiter. I think this should be very intended to be a debuff. I don't think it needs the play space to be sometimes a benefit. I just don't think it needs it. You're not a bear. It only lasts until the start of your next turn. So it's a round. It gives you a round, basically. But yeah, this is fun. I really like it. It does enough damage to feel like it's okay. It's not great damage. It's fine. It's whatever. It's like, it's a little bit worse than it's a little bit lower than I would expect on a first level spell that's just doing damage. And then it has a very, very, very niche feature that will, on occasion, be incredibly powerful. And honestly, that's not a bad place for spells, especially because it's got such a, like, iconic vibe to it that some people I could totally see taking it, even if it's not optimal. Whenever you want to use a mechanic that really is only good in very specific circumstances that honestly aren't going to come up that much, the place to put those features are spells and magic items. And occasionally, like, half a feat. Just because you want to make sure that, you don't want to limit your dungeon master's choices when they're running the game. And this basically allows it where a player can, they'll prepare that spell for the day that they're hunting werewolves or whatever. Yeah, really good against shapeshifters. Duragar too. Yeah, I was thinking about spellcasters. I wasn't even thinking about monsters. I was thinking about spellcasters. But yeah, because there's so many spellcasters at lower levels that like their big flashy move is they like turn one of their minions into like a dinosaur. Like polymorph, enlarge, reduce. Those are like heavy hitting spells for like low level encounters. Yeah, it fucks with vampires. It fucks with any sort of like druidic monster that you're fighting. Okay, I have one other idea that I would add to this. If you want to be stupid. Do you want to be a little stupid? If you want to be a little stupid, I think you change what it does to plant-based creatures. So I think either plant-based creatures take more damage, or you have advantage on attacks against plant-based creatures, or it essentially immobilizes them for a round instead of making them immutable for a round. Like it makes it so they're, you know, it blanches them a little bit. Maybe it's more effective against them. I don't know. Maybe that's stupid. Maybe that's too silly. I don't know. That's where my listen, Brent. I know you like digging deep for the silly. You are a writer who likes your writing to commit to the bit, and I don't think this needs that in any way. But I think if you wanted to, this could be more impactful against plant-based creatures in a way that would wink and nod to also more blanching. Doesn't need it. Doesn't need it at all. What if the spell increase changed if you cast it up leveled to 1 extra per turn per level? Oh, interesting. Huh. I think I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that because any sort of thing that's like an ongoing effect, I think I would want nah, I wouldn't want to, I don't think I would want to do that. I think there's circumstances where that might make sense. I think it's better if it's just around because I think it keeps it being fun. Maybe it's okay if it lasted longer. I don't know. I don't love that. I do love that from a narrative perspective, but I think from a power, maybe it's fine. Maybe it's fine. When would it not be fine? I don't know. Yeah, you could do that, I think. Now, I'm talking myself out of saying no. I think if you wanted to make it so it lasted more than 1 round, you could do that in upcasting, but I don't think you have to. And I think that could potentially have some people be like, I don't think it should do that. But if you don't care, follow your heart. Follow your heart and your legs and your feet and your butt. All right, Brent. Thank you for sharing. As always, I have a deep appreciation for your commitment to the bit. Thank you for sharing. A round of applause for our dear Brent. Keep an enemy stuck as a fog cloud for a whole fight, but how can you turn an enemy into a fog cloud? Like, the reason why I think it works maybe for a prolonged thing is it forces a creature to, like, the only time that's going to be useful is if a creature has already decided to turn into a fog cloud to do something. In that case, it's such a situational thing that it's cool, I think. You know, like, there's not a lot of situations where enemies are transforming in disadvantageous ways. Usually when enemies are transforming, it's in a way that helps them. So it's more about you're preventing them from accessing features, I think, more than locking them into a state. Although it does lock them into a state, but I don't know why you would lock them into the, you know, haha, you can't turn back away from, you're a werewolf now, no matter what. Cool, I'm gonna eat you. All right, let's see, do we have any other brew? We have 2 more pieces. We got a piece from Baba and a piece from Hakase. Let's look at this piece from, is this Baba or Hakase? Who sent this in? This piece is from Baba. Baba said, this is meant to be part of a melee range spells compilation. So like a smite. Not a smite, a touch-based spell. Melee spell. Touch-based spell. Here it is in chat. Boom. Kapow. What about a totem warrior who is so angry that they shrug off force damage? What about it? This spell is called Blind Eye. Guys, I'm so glad you didn't make me play marbles tonight. I'm so tired. Second level, 1 action to cast range touch. You erase yourself from a creature's perception temporarily. Did we talk about this? I don't know if... I saw some people talking about something like this in the Discord. Or maybe we were talking about it on stream. How do you get your homebrew featured? You post it in my Discord. So, go to my Discord. There's the link. Check the announcement page. It will send you to the thread where you post it. So basically, every time I do a homebrew review stream, I post a thread in the Cinder Review channel that has the date and the theme of that thing. And then you post it into that thread. The target must make an intelligence saving throw. On a failure, they can't perceive you through any of their senses, including touch. Intelligence is the wrong choice here. The target can't attack you with an attack while they can't perceive you. I would argue perception is literally a wisdom-based skill, and perceiving is wisdom-based in D&D. I would make it a wisdom save. A creature that is immune to the charmed condition automatically succeeds. Another creature can use their action to tell an affected creature where you are. I don't love that wording. The affected creature can also make attacks against you with disadvantage as long as you remain in that space. What is the point of this spell? Okay. So it's single target invisibility is what it is. It's single target invisibility that is bypassed by charm condition immunity. I don't know, man. It feels like a really interesting concept that boils down to invisible to one creature. I don't know. I don't know. Like, how is this better? How is this in any way a thing you would pick out? When would you ever take this and not pick invisibility? I guess because the way this is written, it bypasses stuff like blind sight. I think that if you want to lean into a thing where they can't perceive you, and it's not that you become invisible, it's just that they don't notice you're there. I think that, I don't know if... it's too similar to invisibility right now. That's the issue. I think you need to figure out how to make it not just... You have invisibility, but it's only one creature, but it bypasses blind sight. I don't think that works. I don't think that is... I think we need it to feel more different. I think what you do is you lean into it being an enchantment, beguilement spell. And maybe make it less of a combat-oriented thing and more of a memory-oriented thing. I don't know. But I think for better or worse, you are dancing so close to invisibility that I don't understand why would I want to do so much work to get to essentially just invisibility but bypasses blind sight. It's too many paragraphs and too much of an interesting idea to just get to such a simple little bump. You know? Also, I feel like this This also ends when you attack. It's the same fucking thing. Yeah, I think I'm gonna be honest, dude. I think the concept is fun. I don't think this is working right now for me. Maybe chat. I'm not the be all end all, chat. I'm not the ends when you attack an affected creature. Baba, you are splitting. Are you trying to argue with me that it is the fact that invisibility ends when you attack or cast a spell, and that the fact that this ends when you attack the affected creature? Are you saying that those two things are different enough that merits this existence? I would say you are doing the thing right now where someone tries to argue with me about why their artificer needs to have 16 different features at level 3 so that it can be the anime thing that they want from Howl's Moving Castle. That's what you're saying. That's what you're doing right now. You are so caught in the very specific circumstances that you're losing the forest for the trees. That's what you're doing. You're losing the forest for the trees. Step back. Step back, friend. Step back. The difference there is so minuscule, I don't care. And you shouldn't. Make it feel more different. Or make it more of like not a spell, right? Make it like a feature. Make it a thing that a subclass gets, or make it a magic item. But the fact that it's a second level spell, and invisibility is a second level spell, is silly. It's not like being ethereal. It's just being undetectable. Yeah, I think that this is, if you try, the biggest issue is that you made it a second level spell. So it's just invisibility. It's just different invisibility. If you like it, go for it. I wouldn't put this in my game. I think this is going to lead to misunderstandings and confusion more than it's going to lead to fun. And it's also just too similar to invisibility. Make it more different. You said something at the beginning. What did you say? This is a bit experimental. Yeah. So, like, what, like, Baba, if you're still here, like, do you have any intention, like, what is your intention outside of, like, I mean, is the goal I get that the goal is to make something that is, like, one guy can't see you, but everyone else can. I think you got to think about how to express that mechanically a little differently. Because that is a different vibe than invisible. But that's not what this feels like. Also, let's be honest. 80% of the time, most dungeon masters don't know what they're doing or are figuring shit out, and you fight one monster. How many D&D fights are you fighting against one monster? I would say half. Most of the time, So it's just invisibility in that case. Then I think you got to focus it on doing that and not do all of this. Because what you are describing is essentially opposite compelled duel. And I think opposite compelled duel is an interesting idea for a spell, but the flavor here doesn't fit that, or the flavor and the mechanics don't get to that sentence that you're saying. I think a better place to start from building this is opposite compelled duel. Go look at compelled duel and make the opposite, and then I think you're in a better spot. I'm not saying to make it exactly that, but like that, I think is the headspace. If your goal is cut an enemy out of the fight, cut an enemy out of affecting you in the fight, opposite compelled duel. Yeah, compelled, leave me alone. It's a very fun idea, though. I like putting mechanics like this onto monsters, where monsters can bypass perception in a lot of different ways. Usually when I do that, there's an element of players making saving throws and me not telling them what they're for. And if they fail them, I don't tell them what happened. And if they succeed, I'm like, oh, you noticed this guy over here or something like that. Or you remember that there was a guy in this room and he just left. So I think it's a fun idea. I think the execution's a little choppy right now. I think the main thing you got to do is just build it off of Compelled Duel. Not build it off of that, but use that as your guiding light instead of whatever you were using. Thank you very much for sharing. Fun idea. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you, thank you. What's up, Lycan? Welcome to the show. We're looking at D&D Homebrew. I only have one more piece. If anybody else wants to post one, you're more than welcome to. You got to make your way to the Discord and find it. I believe in your ability to do that. What does Hakase have for us? Let's see. Wear blessed. Is this like I want to be a werewolf, but I don't want to be a bad guy? Let's see. You sent a message too. What did you say? You have definitely commented on this before in the Discord chat, not on stream. That's fine. No, that's fine. That's fine. I'm happy to look at it again. For the Illith race, a stunning property of Mind Blast is no reactions plus -10 movement speed. That could work. The best, if I have looked at some homebrew you made tonight, the best advice I could give you afterwards is going to be, don't feel the need to change anything immediately. If you took notes, great. If you wrote down comments, great. But let your piece exist as it was before I gave you any feedback for at least a day, so that when you go back to change things, you're not too affected by this outside of the thoughts I shared. I don't want you to. I want you to don't knee-jerk make changes because sometimes I'm gonna give some advice, and either I'm just wrong, and like the advice is not applicable, or you are going to have like a couple ideas of how to change it and how to address what the critique and the feedback. And your first idea might not be the best one. You have version history. Yeah, that works too. But you don't want to immediately assume that your first solution is the best solution. I think it's good to sit for a little while. When I'm making homebrew that I care about, which means homebrew that I'm either putting behind a paywall or giving to my players for my home game, I almost always, when I'm done writing it, I put it away for a week before I look at it again, because I know that just me not thinking about it for a little while is going to allow me to make it better than if I just rush to make it work. Just because it's like I'm not always right. Okay, let's see. Hakase makes this thing called a feat called Wear Blessed. You have to be a shifter. A prerequisite is shifter. So depending on what form you have, you get different powers. Let's see. Your con, you get an ability score increase, and then you get some other things. Let's see. Beast Hide, the extra temporary hit points you gain gets higher. Long Tooth, your fangs get finesse and count as magic. And you can grapple with it. Swift Stride. When you shift as a bonus action or on your other turns while shifted, you can dash. While shifted, you have advantage on wisdom saving throws. If you are designing this specifically because you like shifters and you want the shift to be more impactful at later levels, I think something like this can work. In the same way that, like, if you are a Dragonborn, you want more dragon breath, something like that could work. I do think that for better or worse, none of these things are interesting outside of the grapple. Every single thing is just kind of more of the thing it did before. So it doesn't really feel like it's something. It's not exciting to me. I think it is. I think that's worth thinking about, is that all this is numbers go up in a different way. This is literally numbers go up. This is your attack is now better. Numbers go up. This is when you do the thing to move faster, you're better at you just move faster. More numbers go up. You know, this is just you get a bonus to your wisdom saving throws. So if that is the goal, then I think this can work. If you want this to feel like it is developing the character or giving them new tools, I think you should go in a very different direction. I also feel like having advantage on wisdom saving throws is so much stronger than anything else on this list that might be worth thinking about. Wisdom throws are like the second or third most common saving throw in D&D. So getting advantage on wisdom saving throws consistently in combat is unquestionably better than having a finesse natural attack. That counts as magical, like infinitely better. So if I were you, I might look at what the shifter gets at 3rd level, and or what the shifter gets at species level when they transform, and in addition to trying to upgrade all of the different modes, try to upgrade them in a way that they sort of meet each other in balance. What's up, Adro? Because right now, yeah, you can correct your grammar and stuff immediately, but don't worry about changing any core things. Don't change the core identity of anything until you've thought about it for a while. So yeah, I think this is fine. Again, this is mostly fine if you just want basically your shifter, you just do the thing that you did as a shifter better. But I don't think, I think that outside of the grapple thing, it's not adding much new vibe or flavor. But more importantly, I think they don't feel equal. And then I think that that's probably the biggest thing you got to deal with. Do you have any questions? Thoughts? I saw you in the chat. Was I accurate in that your main goal here is I just want to shift better? I don't want it to do something new. I just want it to shift better. In the same way that, like, I think there's a Dragonborn feat that's just like, your breath attack is now better. If you want it to feel like it's like an evolution, I think it's got to be different. But if it's more like a improved shift, then I think it's fine. I also think you shouldn't call it Were Blessed unless you are going to be throwing in some radiant stuff, some celestial radiant kind of shit. Like, there's a vibe when you put the word blessed in something in D&D. And I think that if you ignore that, it's a little, it might set people on the wrong path in terms of, like, what they are expecting it to be. You call it Were Juiced. Blessing of the Shifter also kind of works, I think. Enhanced Shifter. The main thing I wanted to do with this is make shift to just happen at the start of initiative without a bonus action. Is that even a thing that this does? Oh, I see. I completely fucking missed that. I completely missed that feature. Does it feel, I think maybe, I mean, honestly, if anything, I think that's more of a reason that these guys got to get toned down and be more on the same balance level, because this is, rapid transformation is very strong. It's essentially two features at the same time. You are getting a bunch of, it allows you to, it basically means you get a bonus action and you get this feature on your first turn. That's a lot. That's
Charge
good.
complete.
Jump scare. I saw cool. Yeah, so I think if I were you, if that's the thing you care about the most, make all of these weaker and make them more in line with each other. Also, buddy, I love you. I love you to death. Don't make a feature scale like a cantrip. Don't do that. Just not. It's not. It's. I don't think that's good. I don't like that. Maybe you based it off of the chromatic dragon breath. That's probably what you did. But it feels weird here for some reason. I don't know why. It doesn't sit right for me. I don't really have any more thoughts other than all the things I just said. I think if rapid transformation is the most important, lean into that. These don't need to exist as much. Because also, it's also giving us an ability score improvement. Like, it's not even a half... Like, this feels more powerful than a half feat. I think that's another good way to think about it. Anyway, thank you very much for sharing. I think that these sorts of feats are really valuable in D&D. Especially, like, this is something that I know. I saw people in the chat saying it too. There's a lot of people that want this. There's a lot of people that think shift, that have a have a species that they love because it has one cool, crazy thing it does, and they just want to be able to do more of that thing or do that thing in a more interesting way. Like, we see this with Dragonborns and their breath attack. So I think building a feat like this that helps fulfill that fantasy is a very solid move. I think that you are, like, in a great headspace. And I don't think any of these don't really work. All of these make sense. Nothing here is going to break the bank. Nothing here is going to ruin the game. I think it leans stronger than it does weak. And I think the biggest issue that I see is that these don't feel equal in strength. And then I think the second issue that I see, which is only an issue for me, might not be an issue for you, is that these don't do new things. They are just more of a thing we already get inherently from the shifter form. And I don't know if we need that. I kind of wish they did some... I think... kind of wish they weren't just more of the same. I kind of wish they added. But that's me. That is... You can ignore the shit out of that if you want. I'm sure there's a bunch of people in chat that are like, I fucking love it as is. Anyway, thank you very much for sharing, buddy. I have never played a shifter. But I do think that if I was going to play a shifter, this is the kind of feat that I would take. I don't know if I would take this feat exactly as is. Actually, I might just for the rapid transformation. But I am the type of player that this feat is for, which is a player that wants to do the weird thing that isn't necessarily tied to their class, that is kind of very special feeling, you know? I love an Aasimar transformation. I love anytime I'm being like a Warforged, leaning into the fact that I don't need to like eat or drink and things like I love just leaning into the weirder stuff. So I think this is a solid directional path. And I think that you have a lot of wiggle room to change it if you want to. And if you change nothing, it's probably fine. Drake of Drakus the Maw Flame. We are not looking at monsters today. I will appreciate that you decided to send in a Hydra, but today you can see it both in the video description on Twitch, the video description on YouTube, and the name of the thread and the words in the announcement. We are looking at species, feats, and spells today. So if you have something that is not a species, feat, or spell, you got to either wait for a day that we're looking at those sorts of things, or if you want to give me money, I can review it. But I would strongly encourage you to just wait till a day that we're looking at it. That sort of thing. So if you want to post something else that's a monster, not a monster, excuse me, that is a magic item, feat, or spell, I'm happy to give it a gander. But I'm not going to, we're not doing monsters today. Anything for monetary gain. Might make a magic Hydra-inspired cat of nine tails. Yeah, that could be really cool. The Yinagu, not Yinagu specifically, but a bunch of the Yinagu Knoll-type creatures have, like, weird flails that are essentially cat of nine tails, but they usually only do 3 different things, not, like, 9 different things. But there's some pretty cool monster stat block, weapons that, like, they're fun. I forget which one it is, but maybe it's the fling or the I don't know if it's the Yinagu or the Fing, but they have a feature where, like, when they hit you with their mace or their thing, it does, like, one of 3 options, and you as the dungeon master pick, and it's like it deals a bunch of more damage, it, like, messes with your movement or something, or it, like, frightens you. I forget what, but it's a good amount of wiggle room. How do you handle PCs picking up items like that? Like what? Like a Yinagu flail? Oh, like if they pick up a monster's weapon? It depends on the circumstance. So, if it's something like they pick up like a Baelor's lightning sword, or like a Pit Fiend's fire whip, or like a Deva's radiant sword, usually, the weapon isn't empowered. The empoweredness of the weapon stemmed from the creature wielding it. That's usually what I do. If it's a weapon, if either I want them to be able to use it, or I think it would make sense for them to be able to use it, I probably will just stat it out as a magic item in the back of my pocket if they want to. But what I also really like to do is sort of the opposite, where if there's a magic item that I think is really cool, and I want my players to be excited to use it, one of the best ways to introduce a magic item to your players is to give it to something that they're going to be fighting, and to have that thing use it in interesting ways. So that, like, let's say you're fighting, like, an assassin thing, and as they're fighting, they're, like, chucking this dagger around the battlefield and teleporting to where it is, and they're, like, using that to, like, get in and out of combat and stuff. Then when you kill them, you get the dagger that lets you teleport when you throw it. It's like the fight with the monster is like a commercial for the magic item. So I think that you can, like, really lean into that too if you want to. But I also think that there is a certain expectation between players and dungeon masters that the monsters do things that the characters can't sometimes, and that's okay. And if your players don't feel that way, I'm sorry. I think that your players should feel that way. They should be mellow. They should be chill dudes. What's your opinion on other place-based elves, dwarves, like underwater dwarves or desert elves? I think it's fine. I think it's fun. I mean, if you don't want to do subspecies, you're ignoring a lot of D&D design. There's, like, so many different types of elves and dwarves and stuff. I think it's cool. I think it's fun. I also think it helps with if you're trying to run very specific vibes of campaigns. Like, if you want to run a nautical campaign, having the ability to be a sea elf and then a triton, like having, like, different types of aqua-themed characters that you can have access to is very fun. So I think it's good. It's good from that perspective too. The thing about things like species and spells, more than anything else, they can be very niche because the player is deciding whether or not they want to use it. Nobody is forcing them to be a specific thing. Nobody is forcing them to take a specific spell. So because it's, like, their choice to do it, you can get really needlepoint focused because you're not forcing it on them. You're not surprising them with it. It's not like a subclass feature where it's like, if I want to be this subclass, I have to take the 7th level subclass feature, even if I just, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're buying a ride, you're buying a ticket to the whole ride when you play a subclass or a class. Spells and species are a little bit different, and magic items are different too. But the difference there is also that the dungeon master decides when and what you get. Players decide what spells they learn. Players decide what species they are. They have total control. Same with feats. So it's one of those spaces where players have a lot of agency, which means you can get really weird with it. I've been working on snow-based elves because I have vampires in the Arctic. Oh, that's fun. I do love me some Arctic. Let's see. You sent something called the Paranoid. Is this a feat? Drakes, are you in stream? If you're on stream, say I made this. This is my piece. Wait, we're gonna keep that open in case I want to look at it later. If this is you, say I made this. If you're not here, then I won't even know who you are. Arctic is one of my favorite environments to make stuff for. Arctic and the desert are probably my two favorite because they are ones that feel very flavorful and evocative, but also are very easy to give features that are applicable outside of their environment. You know? Water's themed stuff is hard to make in a way that is applicable outside of the water. But if you extreme cold, extreme heat, the difficult terrain of snow, the difficult terrain of sand, like those are easy concepts to translate into broader features. All right, let's see what we got here. This is called Paranoid. It's a feat. I love feats. You are extremely paranoid. Feats are not personality traits. So I think that you might want to change your flavor text. As a result of this, your movement speed increased by 5 feet. Okay, so with so feature 1, we get a 5 feet increase of movement. That is not much. That is very little. It's okay, but it's not much. 5 feet is it's like half of Longstrider. Additionally, when you fail a saving throw, you may use your reaction to re-roll the saving throw. If you do this, you must use the new roll. Once you use this ability, roll a d4. On a 1, you can't use this feature again until you finish a long rest. This has too many uses. This mechanic, I don't think really works for a feat. I think the idea that you get to re-roll a failed save and you can keep doing that until you roll a 1 on a d4, so you have a 75% chance to keep using that feature every time you use it. I think that's a little too strong. Also, I don't think this is very flavorful. I'm going to be honest, I don't understand either of the features. So I'm not sure what the goal of this is. Like, if anything, I feel like I would just give them the Observant feat. Observant makes you have better perception, which is like, who's around me? Who's around me? You can't be surprised. Like, that's Paranoid. This is, you're a little faster, and you have resistance to every saving throw. So I think you have to ask yourself, what is the goal here? What is the point of this? Like, don't think about it from a mechanics perspective. Think about it from like a narrative perspective. What is the benefit of this feat for a character? And if the benefits that you come up with when you're describing it from a narrative perspective are really similar to things that already exist, maybe we don't need this to exist. Or maybe it's time to push it in another direction. Because I think of Observant. Or what's the other one? Alert. This is like Paranoid in my mind. When I think of Paranoid, I think of jumpy, and I think of quick to react, and I think of like, what's that? Who's that? What are they doing? What are they thinking about? And I think that is either Observant or Alert. Either of those feats. If you're not familiar with them, I'll bring them up very quickly. Observant. Alert. So, Observant, you get to read creatures' lips because you're paranoid and you're thinking about what the fuck are they saying? But more importantly, you get a +5 bonus to your passive perception, which means a good way of thinking about what your passive perception and your passive intelligence passive investigation are, is those are essentially like your baseline level of paying attention. Which I think is, if your baseline level of paying attention is high alert, I think that this fills that out really nicely. Alert goes in a little bit of a different direction. Alert makes you very jumpy, quick to react, +5 to initiative. You can't be surprised. And other creatures don't get advantage against... and other creatures don't have advantage on attacks against you if they're unseen. Which basically means you, like, are, like, looking behind you all the time. Like, who's that? So, if I were you, I think Paranoid fits Alert, and I think Paranoid fits Observant in two sort of different narrative directions really well. So the question you have to ask yourself is, like, what narrative direction is this? Or if you feel like you don't... Or, like, what narrative direction isn't being fulfilled that you could fulfill? I don't think it being generally faster is solving your problem. A good way to think about things in D&D is, like, your dexterity sort of represents your jumpiness, your quickness, your, like, on-edgeness more than your movement. Your movement is really more like your physical skill to move. Like, a paranoid person is not necessarily better at sprinting. And I think that's a way to think about it. If you have any questions, let me know. Those are my main thoughts. I think you got to figure out what the fiction of this thing is a little bit more and build the mechanics around that. But I also think that a feature that lets you reroll a saving throw and its potentially infinite use is just way too strong for a feat. And it's also too open-ended. Like, it's just any saving throw. So it's not like, it's not even like tied to anything thematically. It's just like, yeah, all saving throws you're just better at. So think about that. I wish you well. Thank you very much for sharing. I'm pretty sure that's the first piece I've looked at from you. Let us give our dear card a big round of applause. It's always a little scary sharing Homebrew the first time. And we appreciate it. We appreciate it. If you have any questions or feelings or thoughts and you want to share, let me know. No worries if not. Yeah. All right, guys. I think we hit everything that we wanted to get to tonight. So, you know what that means. One second. I got to do something that is annoying first. Do this. Do this. I do this. I do this. I do this. I do this. Let's see here. Okay. Folks, we are going to start to wrap up. If this is your first time watching my show, thank you very much for being here. You know, making Homebrew and talking about D&D, it's a wonderful thing. So to everybody that shared Homebrew tonight, let's do a big thank you. Everyone give a round of applause. It's scary to share the stuff that you're feeling creative about. It's scary to put yourself out there and be that vulnerable with your art. So to do that publicly and to ask for help and ask for feedback is like, it's not a small deal. You know, it's a fun show too. So you guys are all great. This only exists because you guys support me. So I appreciate you guys hanging out, sharing your brew, sharing your ideas. It's a very special thing, what we have here. And we will be back on Sunday. Sunday is going to be totally open-ended and is going to be call-in themed. So if you want to call in and have the ability to call in, you are going to be prioritized. Then we'll do other things throughout the week. Just check the Discord or on the YouTube community tab, and I'll post stuff there. That being said, you guys are amazing. Be good to each other. Don't forget to feed your pets and love your families and all of that. Have a good night. See you later.
fluorescent. Oh god. Mood swings? Nah, it's not swinging. It's floating, sitting in a pool of tears.
Liars,
Yes.
they're scammers. They are.
Wumbo, you didn't miss anything. You're not late.
Lesson 33, one of my favorite baddies. I adore you.